Oh, David.
Aw. Do you ever notice how women, we're going to talk about Bob Odenkirk, women have this gear, this empathetic gear of going, ah, it goes up at the end. A man might see a puppy and go, ah, but a woman goes, ah, and that's the woman you want when you have erectile dysfunction. Ah.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Sometimes when it doesn't work, I go, what did you say? What did you say to it when I wasn't looking?
You blame her.
Yeah, of course. I go, well, you got to give me a heads up at least 48 to 72 hours. And then I'll start prepping things. And There's medication.
That'll be one of our sponsors, Cialis.
They'll figure it out.
Okay,
guys,
let's get to Bob Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk, so funny. We were there. He was a writer when I was there.
Yeah.
When Dana was there. Wrote in some of the hugest sketches. I mean, obviously, motivational speaker is the big monster, arguably one of the best of all time.
Brilliant writer. And he was, because he was writing there and he wasn't really performing much. And then, of course, later on he does,
he's
Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad. And now it becomes this movie star later in life. But he was very enthusiastic. He'd be like, oh, Dana, it's so funny. Yeah. Oh. And I wrote a movie with him called Tucson, which was a comedy Western for me and John Lovitz. John Lovitz was a Western sheriff. And
Balderdash.
Well, I was a innocent Irish guy coming to town to be the new sheriff, and he was the mayor. And he said, and he was on a hangman's noose, and he's yelling at the crowd. And there's a sign. His campaign to be reelected was, "If I don't clean up the town, you can hang me." So it was very Bob. Anyway, you can cut that part out.
Bob's great, and we had a great time there talking to him. Also. Yeah, he's done all this stuff, and he's such a good laugher, and he's a cheerleader. He really helps when you're writing. He helped me a lot with Hollywood Minute, and he's a great guy. I'm excited. I'm always excited to see him when I see him out. I always light up around a dude like that.
He's one of those. He does really cool stuff, like the Bob and David show was just very.
Mr. Show?
Mr. Show.
Commonly known as?
I saw it twice. I don't remember the name of it. But
The show?
I thought it was the Bob and David show. That was more of a literal thing, that it was literally their show. So I was halfway there. But Mr. Show was great. Very low budget, but so esoteric.
That was huge before Breaking Bad. I mean, that was another feather in his cap. Do you have any feathers in your cap?
There's so many feathers, I don't know how to count them.
Dana's got
too many feathers. No, but then he was kind of struggling a little bit, his words. And then Breaking Bad, and then Better Call Saul. So, and then now he's an action star. I think he's the
Nobody is a movie we're talking about, and Nobody is really cool,
sorry.
And I saw it.
Did
I don't
you guys
think people
see it?
get when you say Nobody, but yeah.
Nobody is really cool. And so he was great in that. So we will deep dive on our friend Bob Odenkirk.
Is that Bob?
Mm-hmm. Bob.
Which one's Bob? Dana, tell me when he comes on.
Odenkirk. How do you spell your name?
Oakendorf.
How do you spell it?
Oakendorf. Oakendorf.
Odendorf. Dana car keys.
Odenkirk. Bob, when you were in grade school, did they do something with your name and make fun of you? Because I had Dana car keys, drove me nuts.
No. They called me Odie.
Oh, yeah.
Odie.
I think I called you Odie.
It makes sense.
Spudley, Oldie.
You know what? It took me weeks to come up with that, but I went over your name back and forth.
You ran it by a couple 7-year-olds?
Yeah.
I called him Captain Kirk back in the day.
Oh, that's
Captain
not
Kirk,
bad.
because he was Odenkirk. See? That's all we got. Thanks for coming on, Bob.
I wasn't the captain of anything. You guys, I love your podcast.
Thank you. I can't tell.
Podcasts are the place I go to hang out with my friends now.
That's why I did this, because I don't get to have dinner with friends. I'm kind of an introverted person, and I stay inside a lot. So I'm in my room right now.
This is really like a dinner.
Even though you're broadcasting from the CNN headquarters?
This is left over from the Drew Barrymore show yesterday. And we thought, should we keep it? I go, Bob will smile like he is now, so I can get rid of it. But
What's the, you had Drew on?
no, yeah, and then we went on her show, and she does a weekend update type segment. We were zoomed in, and this was the background. So look how happy Bob is. He's really thinking.
Do you have any questions for Drew, Bob?
No.
No?
We have to do some housekeeping.
Oh wait, I have a great beginning. Ready? Here we go. Robert John Odenkirk was born in Benron, Illinois, to Barbara and John. Then you got SNL.
Wikipedia
That's
alert.
really all there is to it.
That's really a big jump.
I'll get.
Well, that's all that matters,
A little
right?
birdie told me this
A
morning.
little birdie.
At a given point, he said everybody knew Bob Odenkirk was the funniest guy in Chicago. Someone told me that today when I was doing my research. At some point in time, his initials are RS.
Oh, geez. Robert thought that. Robert thought that, but I don't think anyone else thought that. And
What did Chicago vote on that?
I don't
just
know.
said
They
it was
didn't know.
it was common knowledge.
No, they
according
would have picked someone else.
Yeah.
Larry. What's his name? He's a stand-up in Chicago. No,
Larry Farley.
oh shit. No, he was actually really funny.
The cable
Club
guy?
comic who did zanies all the time.
Doctor
I should know
Chicago
this.
guy.
Chicago guy.
And it never left the Chicago circuit. You know who's really funny is a guy named Mike Toomey, also a Chicago
Who
club
just
comic.
stayed there. We had Will Durst.
Yeah,
we had
they
San
just stayed
Francisco.
there, you know.
Yeah. Just
They like it. Yeah.
Some people don't want to branch out. They do well there. They make money there, and they just stay.
That's right. And
it's okay.
They like
It's
the
cool.
town. They get plenty of work. They get married and have kids, and they
don't go crazy like the rest of us.
and
that
they're
leave.
local stars, right? They go on the top radio show. Anyway, Bob, how are you? How are you? This is what I would ask you if we were at a restaurant. I'd say, Bob, how are you?
Yeah.
Just
I'm
generalize.
so good because I'm talking to you guys.
God, that's the best answer I've ever
really
gotten. Thank you.
I really love that you asked me to do this and that I get to hang out with you because it's true. It's like I listen to podcasts to listen to my friends talk, to hear their voices. And because we don't get to do anything, either because we're working or COVID fucked us up for 2 years or just lives you get separated by having families and stuff. And it's just a really wonderful thing to get to just hang out with people. And I've been listening a lot to the Gilbert Gottfried podcast, which has been so entertaining, even though I didn't know Gilbert very well. But a lot of people I do know are on that, and
He just was.
Yeah, Gilbert. When I worked with the Funny Boys, do you remember them?
Yeah.
The comedy team in the old days.
Yes.
Jim Valley and Jonathan Schmock, both funny on their own, and they wrote together and performed. And so they were the guys that got me in the improv. Louis got me in the Comedy Store, and I didn't make it. I was 20, and the Funny Boys got me in the improv, and I did make it. And I stayed on Jim Valley's couch. And then he goes, I'm leaving for a week, but someone's going to stay here. And I go in and it's like, hello. It was Gilbert Gottfried in his underpants. And he just sat eating Cocoa Puffs. And I had a roommate for a week. And I was like, who's this man? It's very weird to live with someone you don't know. And so I don't know him well like you, Bob, but I did get to spend a week just hearing him. Then I'd see him out and about. And
he was so
I just say what everyone else said. Very, very interesting brain and
it sounds like
interesting guy, very funny.
Gilbert would share some certain sensibilities, Bob. The way he deconstruct. I mean, his Andrew Dice Clay bit, his bad impression. They were just so funny, and he was just.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly appreciated the hell out of him. He was. I only would see him around in New York, actually, and you probably did too at clubs. When I did SNL. You guys probably don't know this, but I would go because you probably didn't even know I did some stand up once in a while, but I would do Sunday night at the Improv, which is not was kind of a sad club, but for me, it was like I'd just get a couple laughs, and it just was like, it made me feel so much better after my week of getting the shit kicked out of me. And just to even get a few laughs on that stage meant a lot to me. It like charged me up for the week ahead. And so I would see him and Larry David and those guys around that club. It was interesting.
Well, those are hard-earned laughs. I mean, when you're by yourself and you walk up and just get a couple laughs, that means a lot. Yeah.
And but it gave me a little boost that I needed. And when stand-up is giving you a boost, you know you're in a hole.
I remember going to that improv.
That's true.
Dana, this is stupid, and we'll get to Bob in about 40 minutes. But what I did is I would come from Arizona, and they said, I was a stand-up, and my buddies said, he knows this guy, Gary Grant, that can book you gigs. So I'd fly the crummiest airline. I'd stay at Columbia with my friend. I would take my suitcase with props.
Oh, yeah.
And I would get my New York coat, in quotes, which was my heavy, like winter coat I would never wear in Arizona. It looked like a duster. I looked like Young Guns. So then I'd walk to the subway, take the subway to 44th, walk to the Improv, wait until they assigned me some comedian. I remember this guy was 36 and he had a Nova, and I go, if I'm still doing this at age 36, please kill me, because I was 20. And then we drove to like BF Packies or somewhere in Jersey. This is how you did it. I'd do a set, bomb. I would get maybe $60, come home, maybe spring for a cab fare because it's too late and scary to do the subway, and do that for 2 weeks, and I'd clear 500, and it was great. But I got to see the Improv, and I thought the Improv, I'd always meet at the Improv was the point. But I always heard about it, and I go in there, and the stage is like 4 inches high. It's like not that big of a deal.
Not
one
at all.
In New York, yeah.
You know what was interesting about that when I first went there was they had that wall of photographs when you came out of the showroom into the bar. And in those photographs were stuff from the 60s and 70s. And there's Andy Kaufman, and there's, probably Jerry Seinfeld's up there.
Richard
but then
Belzer.
there's a guy juggling, and there's a singer. And I asked, I don't think I asked Silver, who ran that club at the time, but I asked probably the bartender or somebody, what's with the singer, and what is this juggler doing? And they said, well, that's what the club used to be. That's what all clubs used to be, is specialty act, singer, or music, and then a comic.
Ed Sullivan.
And then it became, and then the stand-up comedy boom hit, and it was like, everybody get the fuck out of here. It's just stand-ups. It's just.
Then you had like Peter Potofsky. There was like guys that were juggler comedians, magic comedians, and they kept the comedy part in. It was probably easier to get on stage.
I think it probably, there's some value to it in that, if it's just one comic after another, it's like, if there's just something between the comics that can kind of clear the palate a little bit, it's kind of I don't know. To me, the issue I had, and I write about it in my book, which is why we're talking, right?
Comedy, drama. I'm halfway through it.
Yeah.
It's great. Fascinating.
I hope you like it, Dana.
I just got to the comedy part
I have my own lane of this life we've shared together, and then where we intersected was so cool. I just have great memories of you, and we wrote a movie together, which you primarily wrote, but called Tucson. And we had a lot of fun.
I remember Tucson.
Yeah, that still is a great, really funny script.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Dana. I think so, too. I think it's a great scenario that you cooked up, which is that little guy in the West. And he's
Irishman. Yeah.
Irishman good with his guns, but just sweet as hell. And so the opposite of Clint Eastwood, just the very polar opposite of a Clint Eastwood character. And so what was I saying? Just that.
Yeah. You remember the first scene? I thought it must have been. It's so you.
Oh, what?
Well, I think I come to town. I'm from Ireland.
Hanging the guy?
Yeah, and Lovitz is got a hangman's noose around him, and there's posters. He was running for mayor, and the posters said, if I don't clean up the town, you can hang me. and then Lovitz was the conniving, oh, hello. And I was, well, I'm good with my guns, So anyway, but that was,
there was a joke in there, Dana, that somebody else did in a movie in the last few years. It was one of the characters was named like Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
And his name was Clint Eastwood. And
there was so much great stuff.
Somebody did that joke recently.
Didn't you write? Or John Hamm. Sometimes when John Hamm is in a show, they call him John Hamm. Just as on Larry David. It's funny. But
yeah.
Should we go back to and then make our way to SNL? I'm sort of curious because I didn't see it. But what was the stuff that got you?
I talk a lot about the trauma of SNL. SNL is pretty easy to write about because it was so hard and difficult for me personally. But that's true, I think, for a lot of people. And the story's been told many times, but I just told my version of it. But it's such a crucible, right, of pressure and desire and discovering yourself. And it just leads to a lot of interior trauma. And then that's something to write about. Whereas, when I got to the later parts of the book, and I'm writing about Breaking Bad, there was a journey there to become a better actor, but also the journey of the show becoming famous. But the show itself was a well-oiled machine with nothing but pros in every direction and nobody having any emotional issues, just working really hard and supporting each other and
pulling together.
Yeah. And so there's not much to say. Isn't it great? The writers did a great job, and then we all worked really hard and it turned out well. And there's nothing to say.
It's not like if someone does a good scene and everyone goes, that guy's the best one. He's the best one in that scene, and then the rest of the day you feel like shit.
Right.
That's
that's
different.
You're getting it day to day. I assume, like you when you're doing Better Call Saul,
and
like,
people
that was a
for
great
you.
day. It's going to be great, right?
Especially over time, the more you do it and you get to know the values of the show, what's good about the show, and you see it coming across in the writing, and you know what you captured that day and think, well, that's going to play really well or be fun to watch. And it's just not there's not as much to say as there is to say about Saturday Night Live, where there's so many books and they're all fascinating. Yeah. I love them all, by the way. One of the reasons I wrote my book is I love to read showbiz memoirs. I just love them.
Yeah.
And usually when somebody gets into something that works or they're talking about their hit show, there's not much to say. It's all about the struggle and the failure and the loss that's where there's juicy stories.
Dana, when I got there, Bob was there already when I got to the
I believe.
Viewers.
Yeah.
Bob was there and Dana was there and I came in. And Bob is always, I saw Bob more than Dana just because Bob was a writer with me and we were in there all the time. But Bob's always sort of in a good mood, shockingly, when I look back, because it's hard to be in a good mood at that place. But always laughing, always took a second for me. So did Conan. But you guys at least would explain a little bit of what was going on, because I was really a rube, I was a middle act. I didn't know how to write. I didn't know how to use a yellow pad. I had a square wooden desk, and Downey goes, "Here's your room, bye." And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. What am I doing? And so everyone has so much to do on their own plate. You do, Bob, Dana does. And it's hard to take a second to tell someone, hey, because it's someone that not ultimately might take your job, but just one more person kind of in your way in a weird way. And you have to put that aside for a second and be a human being. And you did that. It was very nice. And now whenever I see you at a party, if it's a showbiz thing, I don't see Dana out as much unless we have dinner, but I run into Bob places and then I just beeline over to him because we always just start laughing within seconds. And that's fun to have. And we got through the craziness and we're both sort of sane, I think.
Absolutely, buddy. That's how I feel. I never told you this, but that party at Guy O'Series where I met McCartney and got to sit with him for 15, 20 minutes. Nice. As Naomi and I were walking in, my wife and I, I'm dreading going to this party because I'm, 59 or at the time 54 or whatever, and thinking, fuck it, I don't want to go out anymore at all, ever. And I'm thinking it's just going to be intimidating. There's going to be famous people here, and I don't know what to say to them. And I turn to Naomi and I go, you know what? David Spade will be here. And buddy, we walk in the front door and we look down the hall, and there you are. It fucking blew our minds.
I love
He's a man about town.
There was one time I went to Guys. I didn't even go I obviously don't go to the Oscars, but I didn't go to Vanity Fair or anything. I just went straight over to Guys because Rock was over there. And I get there, and before you get in, there's a line for the bathroom. So I just stand in line for a second, and then McCartney comes behind me, and then he has a little chitter chatter, and then I'm floored, and then Bono comes out. So I knew, I was like, again, like you, I don't think anyone knows what to say to anyone. So I do a few jokes that, sort of strike out, and then we all kind of dart our eyes, and then I drift away.
Well, Bob, do you have something throughout, Mr. Show or anything? If someone comes up to you in an airport or something, I assume like most celebrities, specific compliments are the most flattering rather than "you're great." Because someone came up to me, I'll just couch it. They came up to me at an airport and they said, "I love skinheads in Maine," the thing I did with Colbert on my show. And it's so specific. My friends share that and laugh about it all the time. But you must have 100 of those, especially with Mr. Show. There's so many quirky...
Mr. Show.
Yeah, I'll tell you, everything. I have... we've all gotten to do lots of cool stuff between the three of us. I've just had the variety in my career is sometimes strange in its intensity, because this movie, Nobody, that I did, this action movie, that's like around the world, a whole different audience that probably, they've never heard of Mr. Show. Some of them have seen Breaking Bad, and they're just like a whole nother set of people. But the strangest thing is I always do have to do the math when somebody comes up to me of like, I have no idea what you know me from, or what you think I did that was great. And I've had the biggest surprise is how more than a few times a year, somebody will come up and go, "You are so great on How I Met Your Mother. I mean, you're just the best."
Wow.
And it's like,
wow.
I was on the show 6 times. Do you have anything like that, David? Do you have anything?
Probably.
Yeah, there are little nuggets that I've done that people, I get Emperor's New Groove, and that's the only thing they know me from because my voice. And then you get things that are like Light Sleeper, where I played one scene, and someone doesn't really know you at all, and they know you're famous or you're something, but that's the only thing in your whole life they saw. And they appreciate it. So I'm happy. And it's true. I can sort of guess by who's coming up. I'm guessing sort of what they know me from. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you might be able to get a feel. If they just say you're great, I go, yeah, well, let's dig in.
I find that if someone is funny or in one scene of a movie or one part of a show, if they catch me and really make me laugh or impress me, I'm kind of like a fan from then on, even if it's just like a small cameo. Yeah. But Bob, the interesting part of your story obviously is like, we know where it sort of is, it went. And I'm just wondering, when we go back to 87 to 91 and knowing you and your work ethic, your smarts and funny, all that stuff, like, how does that guy, what was the emotional, who was Bob in those years that was so tenacious and so talented that then you went to this, and then, of course, Nobody is, that they're going to make 10 of those. That was so great for that genre, to reinvent that genre.
Thanks. Listen, first of all, I got to tell you, when they finally greenlit that movie and I went to go make it, obviously I'm thinking probably we're going to fuck everything up and it'll be a mess. But I also thought, if it works,
yeah, then
the thing I'm most excited about is my friends going, what the fuck?
Yes, I said it. I'm like, what? It's like Bob is doing this now. And it's not a one-off. That is too good. It's like too fucking good.
I watch it and I go, this better be exactly what I think it's going to be. And it was, and it delivered. And the fight, I think it was on a bus or something. I'm like, what the fuck?
Fight scenes,
I couldn't even do, I was like, I'm a bigger puss out of all of us. And I couldn't even do the fake stunts for that because I'm such a puss. I'd be like, we can't even fake do it with you.
Yeah.
It's because I go, I don't really need to get beaten up, but I can't lift my leg up and kick. And this will hurt my clavicle if I hold this too high. So I liked that it was you, and you have to be in shape.
Oh yeah,
just to do a fight scene, a fake
for
one.
That, right?
I really
to pull
did.
punches, to do anything.
Guys, I worked really hard because I knew I had a long way to go, and listen, right from the start, it was like, look, if we're gonna do this, it's not gonna be ironic. I'm not gonna wink at the camera. I'm not going to give myself an out. I'm going to look like an asshole. I'm going to look like a huge
badass.
middle life crisis, loser, pathetic, like what happened to you guy. I'm going to do this thing all the way or not at all. And then if it works, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, well, who didn't think it wouldn't work? I mean, come on. But I did.
When do you realize it worked? At a test screening or at just rough dailies, or is there a certain point where you go, this is actually coming together? COVID
really worked in our favor because we had a cut. It was good, but it felt kind of like an indie movie. It was a little slow and small. And then because of COVID, this editor, who's the second editor on the project, whose name is on it because it should be, said, I got nothing to do. Give me your movie. Let me fuck with it. And 2 weeks later, this guy turned the movie back to us, and it was like, oh, wow. Okay, wait a second. And the interesting thing is, he built the sequence that opens the film out of shit that was on the cutting room floor. Not shot for the movie, just thrown away.
What a worker.
And everything else in the movie, all he did was chop it a little bit, shift some of the order a little bit, not much. And it was a totally different movie, totally different experience, and just worked from the get-go. That
Tighten and Brighton.
It was amazing what this guy did.
Because you connected to the character, because it does work in the whole emotional arc. You really do feel. I feel sympathetic for your character. I want him to win. Yeah, well, that's honestly, that's one of the things I thought I could bring to that genre is vulnerability. Vulnerability, genuine, like that you bought. Yeah. Like, because a lot of times, you don't really, they try to have it, but you don't really buy it, but you don't care. If you're watching an action movie, a lot of times you don't care. You're like, so what? I like this guy. I like the scenario.
Go hit somebody.
Yeah, it's fine. Go, let's see the action and let's have some fun with it. But I thought, is there something I could bring to this genre? And I thought, around the world, I'm known from Better Call Saul. And that's a character who's getting his ass kicked in a lot of ways and emotionally getting his ass kicked. And I play him, and there's a sort of a great degree of empathy that people have for that guy. And what the story Evan Schiff is the editor. Evan Schiff came on board and made that thing a beauty. It's important to give credit.
I love it.
Yeah.
And
well, if you're bullied a lot, Bob, like I was and Dana was, and those movies are fucking I love because it's what I could never do. And when you see like Death Wish with Charles Bronson, he's at least a guy that's not getting bullied every day because he's tough. But when you see a guy like you, I totally buy. I go, all right, Bob's a nice guy. He's out there trying to fucking get through the world like everybody. And people just always fuck. They do it to me all the time. And so I know Chris Rock is doing the sequel. But anyway, but I feel like when you see you in that situation, and I'm like, please fucking screw these guys up. It's like the Equalizer or something.
Right. And it's the fantasy wish fulfillment that I could deliver on because I could really be that first iteration of the guy, and you really felt like, he really is. Yeah. It's not just, I don't know, Tom Cruise with glasses on, or or a buttoned up shirt, shirt buttoned up to the collar.
I think you go into a bar, or you go into someone, and you say you want to see somebody, they don't want you to, and you don't back down at all on anything, which is I love. You just go, I think it's best if and you're like, this is the way I want to talk in all my whole life. I just want to say, listen, here's what's going to happen. I hit you, you hit the ground. I hit the next guy, he goes down. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? And you're like, you wait about 30 seconds. You'll see how this hit goes. I love that shit.
Well,
I love it.
So the fun of this idea, this thing I had, the secret I had inside me when I'm training, which is like my friends, Dana Carvey, David Spade, all these guys, if I get to make this and it comes off, they're just not going to know where to turn. They're going to have to go to the hospital and get an MRI.
Yeah, definitely. It was a little bit of opening an old-fashioned newspaper. Bob Odenkirk starring in action film. What the fuck?
And the poster's like you kind of beat up, I think.
That is a great poster.
What's going on here? Yeah.
Well, it was a great joy to make that happen and to have that come to life. But anyway.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Dana. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just for a second, because you're starring in this film, and film and television have all overlapped. Now it's like the best stuff's on television. You're starring in a film, so like when you're like in the 70s, whatever. What films woke you up to filmhood or show business? Like, what was a seminal film for you as a kid? It could be for Ben Stiller. It was The Poseidon Adventure. For Bill Hader, it was Taxi Driver.
Hanks was 2001.
I can tell you, American Graffiti.
Oh yeah, okay. Ron Howard, 1973. Wow. Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and I'd gone to films. Fun movies at the Cineplex, and they were just building Cineplexes at the time. But we had an old-time movie theater in our small town of Naperville, Illinois, and I'd seen a John Wayne film there on its first run.
Big Technicolor.
That's how old I am.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rio Lobo.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the Cowboys.
And I liked it, and it was great. And I loved going to movies when I could, but we didn't go to a lot of movies, but going to that little old theater where, they showed just the latest thing from the studios for a week or two, right? And seeing American Graffiti, man, that was a totally different vibe than everything I had seen.
I remember it
in that theater or anywhere. That was, it was new wave for film in America. And it felt more real. It had a modern energy to it, and it's a very good film.
Yeah,
I mean,
George Lucas.
It's really good. Yeah,
it's so interesting to see a movie that sort of changes the way you think, and maybe it tilted you toward comedy, maybe not, but just. That's the beauty of movies when you see a bunch that do nothing and you're just sort of killing time, and then one just grabs you.
Right.
Nothing like it. It's what you want to do when you make movies. You go, I want one that people remember.
Right. Something.
That's the funnest part.
Yeah, that's the thing a movie can be that a TV show pretty much isn't, which is this kind of very core elemental connection that just gets you deeply. It's like it's a fable and it really takes you on a ride. I think with TV, you're always, no matter how well it's done, you just aren't as close to those lead characters. You're still just watching the story. You can be totally wrapped in the story, but you're just not, I don't know. I feel like movies just kind of grab you and take you on that one ride, and you feel close to those characters in a personal way. But
I agree.
It might be the fact that it's singular, Bob. Yeah. Like it's just you go, and this is at beginning, middle, end, and you go, wow, and you want to see the whole thing again. And TV, sometimes you go, if someone says, "Did you see the series?" I'm like, "Oh, what?" And they're like, "It's on episode 4." Yeah. I mean, like season 4. You go, I can't. But I don't have 200 hours right now.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bob. I just think the power of film more than ever now is turning off the cell phone and not being distracted, because you're watching something with your wife, you're enjoying it, and then ring, ring, a ding, a ding. I mean, it's just it's a problem.
Yeah,
So the focus of a film,
is really strong and really a powerful experience. Anyway, I still love TV, and I love everything that we all get to do. And I like moving around. And certainly don't think I have a future as a movie star, but I will get to make a few more movies, but it's not important to me. It wasn't like the drive of my life. I was driven by comedy, as my book really, really says. I mean, I'm really trying to warn people with that title. I know a lot of people know me from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, but I want to say, I'm going to talk about, comedy in Chicago in 1985, and you're probably not going to give a shit about that. And
you definitely have fans that don't know you from comedy at all.
Yeah, at all.
That's rare for us, for comedians, that you have a whole huge new crowd.
It's true. And I want to move around between these things, because that's always been the most fun thing for me. And that's one of the reasons I think I love sketch comedy so much, is you're just jumping around from different ideas, different tones. Something's really broad, something's a little subtler. I like jumping around between all that stuff.
So how did you find yourself? Because not everyone, if people should read the book, but just quickly, that journey from, I know Monty Python was a big wake up call for you, and then you went to Chicago Second City. But what was it about Monty Python that's not in the book? What are your even today? You feel like that is the one that you and your brother Bill just went, holy shit.
Yeah, I think. There's a lot of comedy in the 70s that we all watched. It had kind of some of it was great, for sure. I mean, I loved Carol Burnett's show. The vibe with those people was like joining a party that was a very welcoming party.
Friendly and sweet.
It wasn't like they were, friendly and sweet. And we sure needed that in my house. So I loved that. But I think Python was, for me, the thing that spoke about how I looked at the world, and it kind of put an arm around me and said, yeah, the adults are crazy assholes, and don't worry, you're not the only one thinking this, and it's okay. You can laugh at it. That's what you can do, and I think it's because they're young guys. They were in their 20s making that show, and they were very smart, and they're very silly, like extremely silly, but very smart.
Yeah,
and that's it's
a tough combo to get right.
Yeah, that's the magic combination to me, and I just, it just spoke to the way I needed to see the world, to be really comforted. I mean, this is what all the things we do and the things that affect us on a deep level do. In whether it's a movie or a book or a TV show or someone's stand-up act, is it makes you feel less alone. You just get that feeling of, I'm not the only one who sees this in the world. And when you're a kid and you're 10 or 11, at the time I was, I think, 11 when I first saw Python, that is a crucial, you're just about to become an adult. You're probably really sensing, and in my house, I mean, life was extremely unstable at that point, because there's, at that point, 5 kids, 2 more to come.
Wow.
2 more to come. How the fuck does that happen? When, financially it's off the rails. There's no future. There's no stability anywhere near you. Jesus. And like how, and you just as a kid, no one's including you in any of that shit. Your parents
Your dad was Alec Baldwin?
Oh boy, I wish he was. I wish he was.
Mine wasn't a picnic either, Bob. We've talked about this, I'm sure, privately, but it was rough. But yours sounds really intense. And
but I mean, look, but it's not that special. No, I mean, I try to express in the book, look, I know my childhood is not special. It is a very typical 70s childhood. People were just starting to have the word alcoholism in their vocabulary. I mean, there was, it was just coming to understand a lot of all of my dad's friends all ended up broke, bankrupt, divorced. All
really?
Of them. And he used to take us out. He used to, occasionally when he would hang out with us, he would take us to his office and we'd go to lunch with these 5 guys. and they'd get fucking ripped at lunch. And all of them, car crashes, divorce.
It's like America.
The playbook. It was like the playbook. Hey, you had your car crash. I'm next. You know, and I remember my dad getting in his car accident, and his was a good one. He went through the window.
In his car accident?
Yeah. He went through the window and landed like 15 feet outside the car.
Oh, wow.
And I remember him looking in the mirror, picking glass out of his head. Like even like a week later, he's still picking little pieces of glass out of his bald head.
Jeez.
God
so
damn.
you went in.
But come on.
That was the 70s. That was a dad.
Yeah, right?
I mean, my dad was a drunk.
We had all
was,
kinds of excitement. Yeah.
Yeah, but look, the bottom line is it wasn't special. It was just where I was at when comedy came along and told me, yeah, he's nuts. It's crazy. It's okay. Yeah. Just laugh at it. And Steve Martin on SNL was also like a superpower rocket ship to like Crazy Town and the best comedy, the best mix of, conceptualized, like the Fast Drunk Brothers, like that's fucking off the rails stuff,
the Wild and Crazy Guys.
Two Wild and Crazy Guys.
I am.
But they pull it off, and it isn't. Look, there was a thing about the 70s humor that was kind of cute and palsy and didn't make me happy. The dangerous stuff is what made me happy, and that's what came around, this time for me.
Yeah, Carlin.
By the way, your American Graffiti was my Life of Brian in Arizona.
Really?
I saw Life of Brian, and I was like, what the fuck is it? I didn't know anything about Monty Python. I just went to a comedy, and we snuck in because it was R-rated.
Wild.
And it really hit me like, what the fuck are these guys? It was nothing like I'd seen. And, I don't want to harp on it, but I just wanted to acknowledge that Monty Python stuff did hit me also. I mean, I saw Animal House. I saw all the stuff I'm supposed to see and fucking loved. And then that was just a little different move and smart, silly, of course, and just doing stuff we didn't do here.
Oh, yeah. I had the same reaction. All of my friends loved it.
And you, now, Bob, I have to ask Bob if he wrote for Dennis because I didn't know that. I don't think I knew you wrote for Dennis Miller before SNL.
Yeah, before I got on as a writer, I would send jokes. Well, I would send scripts to Robert. Mm-hmm. Here's what happened.
Okay. I
was doing different crazy shit in Chicago. Stand-up, sketch shows, anything. And Robert Smigel, I'd seen his work at this little theater that we all went to school at called the Players Workshop, and he wrote a show there that later became a hit show. It ran for like a year and a half and made tons of money. And so I saw that show in its early iteration, and it was already solid. It's such good writing and so strong. It's so like it just works. Like I had a hit ratio of like 15%, and I didn't care. By the way, that was fine. And Smigel had a hit ratio of like 90%, and it was like
he was a big slugging percentage.
Like, holy shit, man! I don't know where that comes from. Robert says it's the Rupert Pupkin effect, is what he calls his achievement as a young writer. Where all these years I've been pretending in my head that I was this writer, and I've been sort of writing stuff in my head, like Rupert Pupkin in his basement. And then he said, if you notice on the show, in the movie, The King of Comedy, when he actually gets a chance, it actually works.
He's actually pretty good. Yeah.
And it's like just from hundreds of hours of doing it in front of the wall.
Interesting.
And I hadn't done what Robert did, I think, not even close to the hours he'd put in on really examining writing and sketch work and what a sketch is. But I saw his work. I loved it. He saw me in this crazy show. It was off the rails, silly stuff, but I was doing characters and the only thing you could recommend about it was my commitment and my silliness. It was super silly. And he got that I was willing to just go that far and thought it was cool. And we started writing a show together, and then he got hired at SNL. Mm-hmm. And so here I am in Chicago And he doesn't know anybody when he gets to SNL. So he's calling me up on a Monday and going, I have these 2 ideas, calling me again on Tuesday, reading the script to me. I'm going, do this joke. What about this? I'm just pitching him jokes. And he just has a partner, even though he's, at SNL, new to the job, and he's got someone to call and work his stuff with. And so I'm sending stuff in. I guess he's sharing it with some other writers. And then I'm sending jokes in for Dennis, and Dennis is doing them. I mean, know what that means to somebody who's waiting tables in Chicago.
Yeah. You see a joke on the air?
Yeah, I remember my first joke. I remember delivering food to the table at Ed DeBevick's in Chicago, and I keep checking the screen because they have SNL on. You can't hear it, but it's on the TV. And there's that picture of Bob Hope, and there's my nasty joke, mean-spirited joke. Mean-spirited from this fucking kid.
Do you want to tell us what it is?
The statute of limitations on respecting Bob Hope for his earlier work ran out today.
Taking a shot.
I love it.
And that's the statute of limitations. It's all the language, and it's like a nicely, tightly written.
Funny. And it's short sweet, and tight. Yeah. Fuck.
And people.
And it's something everyone's thinking. Yes, no one says out loud.
No one says out loud, and and it did great. And Dennis does a couple of my jokes over the next year or two. And Smigel, actually, there was one scene I wrote that got on. It was the Sideshow of the Stars. So, they had Circus of the Stars. And this was Sideshow of the Stars, where they have, I don't even remember the jokes, but somebody's got hair all over their body that you didn't know or something. Some sitcom actor. And Robert, of course, punched that way up. But that was the only sketch that I got on when I hadn't been a writer there yet. And then I had that meeting with Lauren that I detail in the book, and I kind of exaggerated. Oh. But the truth is, Dana and David, I went into Lauren's office, and I really did think this guy does not want his ass kissed. He's heard enough people, praise him. He wants to, if he's going to hire somebody, he wants to hear somebody with a critical mind.
Some moxie.
I got to hear what you said. I'm sure it's in the book.
Well, I mean, I just went like, I don't know. What do you think of the show? Do you like it? I don't know.
I could fix it.
It's been better. It's been better for sure. I mean, I think the early years.
Wow.
And what comedy do you like?
What do you like?
Oh, Monty Python. Monty Python. Now that was great, and that was great because it was smart and silly, and they didn't have to. They knew their lines. They weren't. Reading cue cards. I'm fucking ripping the show. Because
thanks for coming in, Bob.
I kind of think he's going to like this, I mean, talk about not reading a room, man. Holy shit. And the fact that he hired me is insane. The only thing I had in my favor was he doesn't really, he doesn't have to examine that kind of hiring that closely. I mean, if a couple of writers want you to hire somebody, you're going to say, sure, go ahead, give them a try. Mm-hmm. We can try.
They think they're good because he's not first. How can he tell in a meeting?
Yeah, but also,
and he goes, in fairness, I wasn't listening.
The other thing I'd say, David, is, I mean, Lauren loves Python too. I mean,
friends with all of them.
Lauren also, Lauren probably would say, if you said, what's the best comedy show of the last 100 years? He'd go, oh, well, it's not my show, it's Monty Python. And so the fact is he probably kind of, well, the other thing is he also knows what it's like to sit across from a very nervous young person who doesn't know what to say, is completely wildly intimidated. And he's just done that 10,000 times and probably kind of gave me a little break for that. maybe.
Sure. He's very funny also, and I don't know if that always comes across. So we talk about him because we joke, but he's very funny. He's very dry, and when you can make Lauren laugh at read through, it's so fun.
Yeah.
When he cracks up.
Yeah.
Sometimes he slaps the table and laughs, and you're like, oh my god, what a home run.
Yeah. I never did that, but yeah.
Bob, Dana, I don't know if you remember when I was having some troubles on the show, and I think I would just credit Bob with the one in my picture in my head when I'm joking about People Magazine or just killing time in the day. And Bob is a great laugher, by the way, which always helps disarm, make you feel better.
Generous laugher.
And
a sincere laugher.
Sort of came up with Hollywood Minute and steered it with me. And remember, Bob, we were thinking maybe it could be a show.
Oh, David, what did I do to help you with that?
Well,
I just said what you do here back in the writer's room, you should just do that.
Yes, it was something that simple, but it made me, and we were framing it, and I'm like, could it be a show called Guess What? Remember, it's like, guess what? You're an idiot. And then it turned into like just a series of photos, which when you said that Bob Hope one, that was kind of like a simple way it's put, do a joke, try to think of something people are thinking. Everyone's kissing ass to celebrities. And I was unknown, which helped, just innocent looking. That was part of it. That's why I didn't want to do it as much later because I sort of turned into someone people knew, and then it turns meaner, and then it was just kind of fun to take someone's legs out for no reason. Like, hey, this guy is famous. Fuck you, and there was always a reason. Like, I didn't want to go at people more than once because, you get one freebie if they screw up, and I didn't want it to be that mean. It was just for fun, but
yes.
But it was a big help. Just the fact that you encourage or even listen to me in between we're eating Wally and Joseph's or whatever, it was nice.
Well,
and then it sort of just got me thinking.
I love to hear somebody young. I've helped a couple of young talent groups or people to find some way forward, and it's because I know what it's like to tread water and lose ground and be lost, and if you can give somebody a little cue that maybe gives them a shortcut or clarifies what they're doing already. And it's a great feeling to be able to do that. And I guess I've done that even more than I thought, but I like to do it. I mean, part of it is, one of the ways that you can use your skills when you've been at SNL for a few years as a writer, and by the time you were there, I'd been there for 3 years. And, I finally was feeling like I'm starting to understand what the show needs, because instead of what I wanted it to be, which was insane, because it's never going to be Monty Python. It's not
change it to what
loud.
Right.
Oh my God! There's so much about
Deal with
it.
the reality. What's the reality? How can you help? What's the show?
It took me for years. Yeah. But somewhere around my third year, my brain started to calm down and go, wait, it's not this other thing that you want it to be. It is a thing that has all kinds of, first of all, it's so fucking hard to do. Whenever we talk about it and we critique the show, and I mean, the fucking thing just on the face of it is impossible.
It's absurd.
It's an impossible thing. It's absurd. Yeah. And the more I go back, the more I go, when I go back and see the show being done, I'm like, oh my God, this is impossible. When I was young, I never thought that. Oh my God. When I got hired there, I was like, come on, how come this isn't better? Come on, work, you guys. This is not hard. This is easy. It shouldn't be hard. And it's like, once you've produced a few things, you're like, you want me to do a show Saturday night with sets?
And how good all the departments are. Yeah, the departments are so fucking on it.
They're so good.
Yeah. They're so cracked. Yeah.
Anyway.
Did you ever think during a long dress show, sometimes I thought maybe tonight's the night the show won't go on. They'll show a rerun or something. Sometimes it just seemed
I never thought that. I mean, I think it more now, but again, when I was there, Dana, when I started there, I had I don't know, you guys know, the people who start in this business, there's such a strange mix of confidence, self-doubt, ego, self-hatred. It's the weirdest. Like, how does it work? How does it work that you have a friend we all have a friend, literally walks around all day hating themselves, talking about how stupid and dumb they are, and then gets on stage and tells a crowd of strangers what they think. Yeah. Like,
it's a madhouse.
Well, how does that work? Something's wrong here, because if you don't think you're worth anything, then you shouldn't be thinking, give me that mic. I need to tell everyone what I
give me that mic.
I just always felt
I need to lecture these people.
Bob, I always felt if I didn't kill, I'd get fired. I felt like I had to destroy it. Maybe I pushed a little too much at times until I got to Johnny Carson. Was the only sketch I did toward the end where I wasn't pushing. But I just wanted to make the point that, are you still with us? Your screen's frozen. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
God, you were just...
Oh, yeah.
Is that it seemed like you were... Like, if you told me you had a pretty good time on SNL, wouldn't surprise me, because it seems like you were sort of around a lot. Like you'd be in a room with Conan or Robert, or here's an example I wanted the audience to hear. Franken and I are doing a George Bush Sr. We're sitting around somewhere going, hey, I'm doing the thing, gotta do it. And then it was, we're trying to go, I think Al said, in the lesson of Vietnam, and you had just eavesdropped or just walked by and you just went, stay out of Vietnam. And that killed on the show on Saturday. Lesson of Vietnam, stay out of Vietnam. Do you remember that moment, Bob? But I think you were around the show a lot. Grumpy Old Man was really you originated that. I don't know. It seemed like you were around.
I listen, if I try to think of the things I contributed to SNL, and basically I say in my book that I didn't help at all, and I got paid, and I learned so much about how to write a sketch and what a sketch is made of. And then I gave nothing back, nothing in return. Like Lauren totally got the shit end of the stick with me. But probably those things maybe added up to something. The little things that I was able to do because Robert included me in writing, or, anybody did. I mean, I can think of some of them because they stick out, because they were, it meant a lot to me when I was able to help and say something that helped. I wanted it to work. That's the other thing. Sometimes I think when I talk about the show, it sounds like I hated the show or thought it was dumb and fuck this place. And it's not true. It's not true. I wanted nothing more than to be helpful and meaningful there. And it would have meant so much to me to feel that way. But I just did my best. But
you brought in like motivational speaker, which is one of the greats. I mean, that's just that alone. You could have fucking walked off.
David, that was after I left. That scene was on.
Is that true?
That was the next. Yeah, that they did that scene the year after I left. Now they gave me credit for it, of course, because I wrote it. I wrote it alone in my apartment in Chicago. But that wasn't even. I had left.
Van Down by the River. Just that.
Wow.
Van Down by the River is poetry.
I mean, just the fact that it's one of the most. I mean, listen, I just was in the scene and I hear about it every day. So, but I had nothing to do with it. I just was cast. Thank God, Lord Jesus.
Well, you guys know that as proud as I am that I wrote it, and I'm supremely proud. It's a standout moment in my life.
And SNL's
the fact
life.
Is, Chris Farley is the reason.
Freight Train.
He's just, come on. I mean, that guy. I mean, I talk about him a lot in the book, and it's weird, and it's fun to talk to you guys right now, because I mentioned to Howard Stern on his podcast that, it's strange to write about somebody who I mean, David, you were very close to him. I was not. I mean, I felt very close to him, but so did anyone who saw him perform.
Or even hung out with him.
Or
He's
met
such
him.
a sweet.
Yeah, he was so nice and look in the eye and just like shake your hand and be happy. And they felt like, oh, that's why he was so lovable. They're like, oh, this guy's my friend immediately.
Yeah, Howard said, I didn't really know him. And I said, but you did. You did, because you saw him
perform. Yeah.
You saw him as a.
That's basically what it was. Yeah.
And so I was I felt a little strange about writing as much as I did, but it was pure honesty, and he affected me and impacted me greatly, as he did everyone who got to know him. So, I mean, it's fun to talk about how I got to write that sketch and that it played so well on the show, but it's all Chris, The show is always the show is always performance. One of the things that probably bothered me was that SNL is always going to reward and celebrate a performance laugh over a construction story laugh. And as a writer, I'm wanting those two to at least be equal.
Right.
Or if not, lean in my direction, where you go, yeah, that performer who says bad on there, he's all right. But the fucking idea, that's so well constructed.
And that probably was Jack Handy, right? Jack Handy. Yeah.
A Jack Handy sketch is a Jack Handy sketch. It is funny because Jack Handy is fucking genius. And it does it. You can put 7 other actors in there. If they're okay, you're going to laugh your ass
Unfrozen caveman lawyer. I mean, Phil was great, but the concept of what it was just so Jack Handy.
And Phil nailing it, but he's nailing a great
piece of writing
sketch that was written so well. And Handy sketches, like a fingerprint within a half a page at read through. You're like looking around going, is this Jack Handy? Like it's immediately comes out of the gate.
So Bob, we know you have another appointment, so I just wanted to ask you about your health for a second. How are you? People say to me after that I had my event, they said, "How do you feel?" Even a year later, are you feeling okay? And I always go, I either feel perfect or I'm in the hospital. So there's no like Bob's having a good day today. You're completely whole and energetic and healed because the science is there to make this go away, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm great. I'm working out, doing the same workout I did when I did Nobody, and I'm back to it, and I feel great. I've got good energy all day. It took a while, Dana. I had 5 weeks off after the heart attack. I had 5 weeks off, and then when I went back to work, they limited my hours to 12 hours a day, and that was actually
limited.
That was really
so quick. We could get started here. Yeah,
and I needed that. Because I really got to about 8 hours a day, and I would just start to sit down in the closest chair to the set.
It takes it out of you, getting stents, and the drama of it, all of it makes you weak for a little while. Yeah.
So it took a couple more weeks or even a month and a half or two before I felt like I could do even the 12-hour day fine. But I'm fine now. And I would just say that, whatever. I knew that thing. I knew that the plaque was building up, and I should have been on medicine. And anyway, I'm going to be okay now. And I got a lot of a lot to think about after it happened and now. And I wanted to ask you, because you've also had a heart issue. Do you ever sometimes lay in bed and listen to your heart?
I would say in the first year after all that, any kind of little thing or skip a thing or whatever, it took me a while to let that go. But I'm really aware of my heart. Like if it's beating rapidly, I'm aware. So yeah, that.
But you weren't before?
Not in the same way. Not in the same way, but I love getting my heart rate up. I love breaking a sweat. I do everything the same. I was just very, very lucky. And what I want to tell people with Bob here is that, there are statins, there's medicines, and there's diagnostics, CT, heart scans. There's ways to be ahead of this. Thank God Bob had who he had around him at that moment. But there are ways to prevent it. It's not a death sentence. It doesn't change anything. And it's the medicine and the technology has gotten so brilliant since the 90s. So I would just encourage people to get checked out if they have a family history. Right, Bob?
Yeah, or even if they don't. Dana, I don't.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah. I don't have a family history. And so if you're 50 and you're man or woman, 50 years old, 55, just ask your doctor for some simple tests, LDL, that stuff. Get the simple test done. It'll tell you. And these medications are very mild. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to change anything about you. So just, take the statin or whatever they recommend if you need it. And and I was very lucky. I was supremely lucky, you guys. Not only that, listen, I just learned this a few days ago. The AED device that that Rosa Estrada used to jack me up, and it took three runs. It took 3 tries.
Jeez.
She had that in her car because she was trying to return it to somebody she borrowed it from. And she'd been trying to return it for weeks, and this guy was never home. But otherwise, there wouldn't have been one anywhere near. And so only because this guy wasn't there to answer the door, that she had it in her trunk of her car and could go run and get it.
You know what's weird, Bob, is my brother Brad lives in Albuquerque. He's the guy I based Garth on. He had a massive heart attack 20 years ago. And 2 paramedics were part of the track club. And he just went lights out. Same kind of thing. 15 minutes of all that. Start the heart. He's fine today. So, and it was in Albuquerque too.
But
so I know
right
2
there.
people in Albuquerque who freakily had heart attacks where they should have had them. You don't want to have a heart attack alone.
Terrifying.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at it, David. It's either terrifying or it's exactly where you should go to have your heart attack.
Albuquerque.
Yes. Listen, I have a history of having an attitude.
I would love to talk to you guys for 5 more hours.
Yep. I love you, Bob. Thank you for coming, man.
Thanks so much.
Bob, it's been such a pleasure.
Guys.
You're right. We could go for 5 more hours. Peace out.
All right. Miss you, buddy.
Thanks. Miss you too. See ya.
Take care.
See you, pal.
Bye-bye.
Soon, I hope.
Hey, what's up, flies? What's up, fleas? What's up, people that listen? We want to hear from you and your dumb questions.
Questions, ask us anything. Anything you want.
You can email us at flyonthewall@cadence13.com. Steve Rusnak. Guys, if you could star in a bio about anyone, who would it be? You guys are fantastic. I guess I can't do
bio movie?
Judy Garland. Someone already did that. Renee Zellweger. Who would I be good?
Probably
who would
the
you
life
be good
and
as?
times of David Spade.
Oh, yeah. We could play each other.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I could do
I think I could play
anyone.
I actually, if I think about it, I would love to put prosthetic makeup on.
What's it going to be?
And do a movie where I play Dwight D. Eisenhower.
No. Riveting. Everyone's waiting for it. This is the week.
I tested for the movie Amadeus. I was 3rd in line for that movie. Amadeus playing Mozart. He's like a boy child. I can play 1,000 things and you can't.
Do you know, I was in a movie called Light Sleeper. This doesn't answer the question at all, but who cares? And Paul Schrader, who did Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, unbelievable writer, was directing it. I went into audition and he goes, great audition. We're going to try to get Dana Carvey. And if we can't, we will hire you. And I said, very honest, I'll take it. And then they said, Dana doesn't want to fly to New York to do it. And I said, I will. Because you had to pay for yourself too.
And what was it?
Light Sleeper with Paul Schrader. They asked you, and you were you just got back from SNL, and you go, I don't want to fly right back. It was only a 1-day shoot, so I did it.
Well, they used to nickname Kevin Kline Kevin D. Kline because he always said no. I think I was second in command. Here it is. It's this much money in Nova Scotia. You leave tonight.
Yeah, that's when you go now.
Because when you do stand-up and corporate stand-up or things, you're just like on call, almost like a firefighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta leave in 2 hours. It's in Berlin.
I know agents are always
like 20.
Agents go, I do it. I mean, and you go, well, yeah, you sit in your fluffy office with AC, and I got to go down and get in Southwest and connect through Houston. Anyway,
I was offered a gig in Munich. Okay. Fly on the Wall has been a presentation of Cadence 13.
Please listen, then rate, review, and follow all episodes.
Executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Chris Corcoran of Cadence 13, and Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment. Production and engineering led by Greg Holtzman, Richard Cook, Serena Regan, and Chris Basil of Cadence 13. David, so what have you been up to? You've been out recently. What's been going on? You've been kind of busy lately. What's going on?
Well, I had a bit of a schnoz sitch. My nose is perfect, but
That's great.
I had to go in there and get it worked on because they said I had something wrong with it. So on the inside.
Do they go through your nostril or they don't?
Yeah, they go through. Yeah. They went through my butt. They go, we're going to take the long way.
This was that. When did we get to the funny part?
That's not the butt part. No, they go through there, and then are
you knocked out at this point?
3 hours.
Okay.
It's not technically a nose job, but everyone thinks it is because I go, my nose is broken in 2 places. They go, got it, nose job, but it's not. It was just they had to fix something internally. It doesn't even help me, even though I brought in a picture of Margot Robbie. And they go, what are you bringing that? I go, just in case, if you want to make it look like that while I'm under. So I go under, but the funny part was, Dana, and this is hysterical.
You already look like Margot Robbie. Like
true.
Her brother or something from another mother or something.
And his hair's getting long.
I know, that's why. It's called a hat when your hair goes bad.
I went in and what I found out is, we've been talking about it for so long. So now my phone, I get all these ads because your phone listens. So like I get an ad for nose spray. I get an ad for breathing strips. I get ads for Vicodin addiction rehab centers. It's just.
Bobby Moynihan, he's a very, very down-to-earth guy.
Fun dude to talk to. We had a great, we immediately opened with talking about, what is one where they're on the elevator? Pumpkins, Mr. Pumpkins
with Tom Hanks' crazy elevator guy, David S. Pumpkins.
So funny,
one of the weirdest, funniest cult sketches ever.
And Tom came back and did it as a cameo, hysterical. Also, does the Single Ladies, Beyonce.
Single Ladies is a beautiful piece of physical comedy with Beyonce, and Bobby Moynihan commits whatever he's doing. Funny as hell. Drunk Uncle, another smash hit of his.
Just saw him get laughs in this Joseph Gordon-Levitt monologue. So whatever he does, he's getting laughs out there. Great guy to talk to. We had a good chat, and we'll let you get to it. But. And
just to reiterate this podcast, we hear another very fascinating circuitous route to getting on Saturday Night Live. And then becoming a star of Saturday Night Live. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Bobby Moynihan.
I didn't even get a last word. I just said.
You're good silent.
I know. Sometimes it's good because when I hear it later, I go, please shut up. Don't talk.
Well, that's all I scream at the podcast. Shut your fucking face. That's all I think.
That's what I do.
You at least have a cool voice. I got a weird.
No, you got a good one. Yours.
Also, before we go to Bobby on our great interview, the interview, then he was great. I mispronounce Mikey because I did a TV show with Mickey Rooney years ago. Nathan Lane, one of the boys, you could look it up. I kept saying Mickey instead of Mikey, so I apologize and just know that it was a mistake.
And Mikey. I kept calling him George Siegel. So,
but that was his real name.
That's his stage name.
That's his stage name. So that's
we
not
apologize, but it's not a big deal, and who cares?
Mikey Day is a great comedian on Saturday Night Live. I called him Mickey Day, referred to him as Mickey Day over and over again. But instead of doing scissor editing, we left it in, and now I'm making this apology / FYI. Listen,
David.
No. David, God damn it, that's it. I've been calling you Damon. I said, my wife says, how'd the podcast go? Damon was really funny.
No, Mikey Day's great. Bobby, what's his name, is great. This is a good one.
It really is, Daniel Spade. It's look, I get the name was wrong. The interview was great. Yeah. I would take a listen. I enjoyed it. David?
Yeah, it's almost over, but here it is.
Well, this is kind of interesting because we have Bobby Moynihan on, and over the weekend, this is an evergreen show, but over the weekend, he crushed on Saturday Night Live, which is Drunk Uncle, maybe your best one. I don't know that, but it was what I thought when I saw that. I said, this guy, because when I would go back and guest host, I'd be rusty and a little nervous, but I guess you did go back in 2020 and do Drunk Uncle. but you were so loose, so in the pocket.
I don't know if I did. Yeah, I felt very lucky that I did it right before I did this podcast.
Because you knew it would crush. Yeah. We're going to get huge numbers.
I didn't know, but I was excited. It was very nice to go back and just go, oh, I'm just going to go have a good time. I'm just going to go. I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to go. I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to go have fun.
I think the easiest, funnest thing to do is go back, not host.
Yes.
And just go score on something and get all this excitement and then leave, and it's not so jittery.
100%. It also doesn't hurt to have Tom Hanks next to you to go like, and also there you go, just in case.
You got a good backup singer, Tom Hanks.
Yeah, exactly. And Jeff Probst.
One of the
yeah, that's right.
Oh yes, nothing Tom Hanks can't do, and he's just he's so enthusiastic about comedy. So. He would just bounce off the walls when he used to host. But so I guess let's talk for a minute about this sketch, David S. Pumpkins, which is kind of getting a cult following. I think was that just the second time you did it in 2013? I looked it up and it floored me. And then you just did it. So talk to that sketch a little bit.
We did it once and then like very, very quickly and maybe too quickly did an animated Christmas special. An animated Halloween special, and then with Tom, and then didn't do it again for many, many years, and then just came back and did it now after 5 or 6.
How did it come about to be right now when you're not hosting and Tom isn't hosting?
Yeah,
I think I'll be completely honest. I think Rita Wilson had some singing engagements in town, and Tom had a free Saturday. Okay. And Tom had a free Saturday and was like, "It's Halloween. Let's do David."
You know
Pumpkins.
what that means?
I got a text on Monday saying, "Are you available?" And then didn't hear anything and got flight information on Thursday, and I was like, "I guess it's happening."
Oh, who reaches out to Tom? You or the show or Lauren?
I believe Tom reached out to Lauren and was like, "I'm in town if you need me." Was like, here, here's my favor for the year, or and
that's it.
And then yeah. But I also think Tom loves doing it. Like he was there all day Saturday, just hanging out.
That's so Tom.
Yeah.
So just for a second, I'm sure David's curious too. It's just like the origin of that. It's a little like it was you and Mickey Day and wrote it kind of, and then you pitched it to Tom in
Mikey.
Right? Yeah, it was one of those dumb 5:00 in the morning, like, it's the Halloween show. We want to have something that comes back every year. And we were talking about how there's no Santa Claus for Halloween. And but we also had a completely different idea about like being these weird do you remember that video? There was like a video going around, like a viral video of it's like a guy, an Indian guy would press the button on a stereo, and he would just start dancing, and then the other guys would press stop, and he would stop dancing. It was just this weird video, and like we were talking about that, and like we kind of were writing 2 different sketches at the same time, and it wasn't getting anywhere, as it is in retelling as well. And it was one of those nights.
That happens at writer nights. That happens a lot.
Yeah. 5 a.m.
Yeah. And then like we kind of settled on just like a funny idea is that like nobody knows what David Pumpkins is, like kind of, but didn't really. And then by the time it got to dress, we were like, we have no idea what we have here. And then Tom Hanks was just like, I think I'm just going to be as weird as possible. And it just kind of found itself on air.
How was read through? Did you do read through with Tom with that?
Read through was great. It had the kind of like the same thing of just like, what? Like, we don't know what this is, but it was funny, and it's going through for now.
Did you get up or did you stay in your seat?
We got up and did the dances.
Yeah.
And I think so did he, and I think that's what sold it, was just like him not knowing what to do with it.
And his enthusiasm.
When the elevator door opens, watching it as a fan, and the dances that you and Mickey did were so specific. In the first one, you're like shaking your face and rolling. And then Tom in the middle. I mean, just as a composition, like a painting. And then audially, it's just like doors open. It's like, boom. And then they close. There's something really irresistible about that conceit.
A very silly visual.
Yeah. Open,
I also truly believe the night it aired was like the week before Trump got elected, the cold open was I don't remember what it was, but it was very somber, and Kate McKinnon was Hillary Clinton, and she was saying it pretty much was like, we'll see what happens next. And like then there was another kind of depressing political sketch, and then out of nowhere this weird David
There is something to speak to that about madness, just absolute madness, and no real rhyme or reason other than it's just, just so crazy funny.
A goofy sketch.
A very goofy thing.
Sounds fun. At read through is fun. Where do you sit at read through on a side note?
Say that again?
Where do you sit at read through?
I sat on the side of the when I was there. We were still in the writers' room. I don't think they do it there now. Now they do it in the studio because of COVID. But when we looked at when we look at we would look at the 25th anniversary book because they had the pictures of where
everyone sat,
where everybody sat, and I sat in Farley's seat, and I
I know exactly where it is. You're kind of facing
cried.
Lauren.
When you walk in the writer's room, you look straight out those windows. So you walk in, there's a big square or sort of table. Lauren used to be back to the windows, and
the guest host
crack the window to get like a smidgen of the 30-degree air in that boiling room. And then next to him, if you're looking at the windows, to the left was host. And then I think I took over Dana because then you round the corner and it was me. I had a good spot there, but I sat behind Dana for a while and then Dana came in.
David would sit behind me, but like every week I'd look back and he'd just scooch in his chair up just a little bit closer to me.
Yeah,
I'd look. I go, what?
Whisper, I'm next. But it was funny because I think Farley. Where were you? Was that you had your back to the doors?
Yeah, back to the doors, sort of away from the. But anyway, on that back side of the square, facing the window, is where Chris was. Yeah,
I was there when I first got there, and then moved over to the other side, closer to where the host was for most of it. But like. That was Keenan's spot next to the host. They just put Keenan there for 20 years.
We should say for our novice,
20 years.
Keenan, I'm such a fan of his because he just projects joy with every line he says, and he always hits it perfect. Like he never stumbles. Yeah,
consummate professional, and like the same comic timing since he was 8.
Yeah, just had it.
I feel like he lost Dana. I feel like Keenan lost his nerves. I mean, at a certain point, you just go, "Hey, I'm just going to fucking have fun and milk out the show." I know, it shouldn't be this scary. There's no reason for it. I'm here. I'm not getting fired. Yeah. And then it makes it so much more fun.
I would say for me personally, I want to ask Bobby that I was the loosest the last sketch I did on the last show. And I remember thinking, that's the best I've ever been in terms of my own inner psychological profile. So for you, Bobby, so you were there 2008 to 17, 9 years. Mm-hmm. How do you feel in terms of that fear factor or feeling loose by 17 compared to 08? Did you evolve, or were you one of those savants that you just didn't get nervous out there?
My first episode, I had a space camp, but my first episode, I was just like, I got this. This is the bet. And then the second one was when the fear started and where are the cue cards and all that. But my last episode that I did, I got to the studio and just started throwing up. I got like violently
Wow. Why?
I'm guessing a mix of like nerves and not wanting to leave and wanting to leave and all that stuff. But like, I don't know. I just got sick. I just got super, super sick the last day, but it was a wonderful day. But going back now and doing it 5 years later and like flipping on a switch that hasn't been on for 5 years, like,
yes,
it was bonkers. And like, I go like, oh, that's the best I've ever done on that show, because I had a bit of that Keenan where I was just like, I didn't shave. I just had a good time.
I could absolutely feel that. I looked at a lot of other drunk guy. Anyway, what's his name? Drunk Uncle. And you were always super loose. But on this past Saturday, I thought it was almost a next level thing. Like you kind of didn't need the cue cards or something, but we were so in the pocket.
It was fun. I was in a different place. I called him Seth. I called Colin Seth, and everyone was like, "That was a great joke," and I was like, "That was 100% by accident."
Also, you're focusing on 2 bits, and that's it. And then you're laser focused on that. You have nothing else to worry about.
Exactly. And like we were right after David Pumpkins was the first sketch of the night at Dress, and then at On Air it was right after Update, so like I had just enough of a quick change to remind me that like I'm 45 and I haven't done this in 5 years.
That's just the singularity of SNL, that you're playing drunk uncle with the beard and everything, and then you go and get in a skeleton costume. Do you have the people changing you? Do you get a mirror? Because sometimes I would say, can I look at myself for a second?
Well, now it's completely different. Like now you're doing it in the studio, and it was Jody and like it was people I know and like Louis, but also there's a GoPro camera right here getting a time lapse of you doing your physical change. What? So you're like at your most vulnerable and sweaty and like ripping your clothes off. And they're filming it with a GoPro, and they're like, "It's borderline illegal." You're just like, "Oh boy!"
And you're just in your underwear. At one point, for a second, you're just bare naked, basically, right? And then they put
it's a lot of fun.
You stand like a scarecrow, and then they just rip everything off you, and then someone like the writer, is yelling their lines at you, going, "Remember, at the beginning, it's a little different, and then at the end, you're going to be red on cards, not green anymore."
Tom Hanks is going to slap your butt 3 times, and you're just like,
Tom just added a slap. Yeah, I like when it goes boing. When you go doop beedly boop. Boing.
I love the face at the end. The face at the end where the scared people on the ride, and then Tom Hanks, hi.
When the dumber he gets, the happier I get, is because I know he's having a good time.
Characters that are happy are fun to watch.
The stupid, the more dumb I act. Yeah.
Yeah. Good Lord.
And so he comes in, and when you, by the way, when you walk in the room, people at home, you do dress rehearsal. It's exactly like the real show, but probably harder. It's longer. Mm-hmm. And you don't know if you're on the real show, but you're giving it everything. They have an audience. Then they go in and pick the sketches, which is excruciatingly long because you're waiting. And then around 11, you walk in there crammed in the office. If they still do it in Lauren's office.
They don't now.
No.
I was gutted. I was gutted and angry. They do it at Madison Square. They do it at Madame Tussauds. I was like, they're calling the meeting, and I go to head upstairs, and they're like, it's in the studio now, and I was like, no way.
I don't like it. I'm resisting it.
You need the fear of going into Dad's room,
tight room,
and Lauren would sit at the desk, and he had the only comfortable spot, and everyone else is jammed and
higher than everybody else. We're all on the ground like animals,
right? And then you walk in and you look at the board and you see if your sketch is moved to the side, meaning it's out, because they still have to trim the show. It's probably 2 hours at Dress, and then it gets cut down. But you see Pumpkins was first and it went after Update. Did that hurt you? Did that hurt your feelings?
Of course. It brings back that terrifying feeling of like, what did we do wrong? And then you're like, and then you hear, well, it's for quick changes. And I'm like, I don't believe you.
Bullshit.
I don't believe you.
Did it kill too hard? Is that bad?
I did for 9 years, but this time I've had 5 years to see it. Now I don't believe you.
I wonder what that is. You think just get off the ground with a fucking
now it's the virability. So at least on my feed, it was like, David S. Pumpkins and Drunk Uncle come back to SNL. So it's a different. In my day, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have anything. We didn't it was primitive, man.
Well, I like that you sound old too, Bobby, because you're saying like that read through room and this and that, and things are different. And I'm glad it stuck through Dana, through me, through all the way through you, and then it changes. But
I feel like I was there for the not turnover, but the transition. Like when I first got there, Amy and Daryl were still there, and like Shoemaker and Marcy Klein. I think maybe the last person like hired, I was under Marcy maybe, or close to.
Could we ask you about that? Because we had Nick Kroll on, and he
the best. I love him with all my
brilliant, heart. Of course. And there's a lot of whimsy and weirdness to how you get this show or don't get it. But I guess there was a big audition on the 6th floor, and Nick was in it, and he told the story of that. Were you in that audition?
I believe so. I think so.
I think you would have been. I think that Nick mentioned you. Yeah.
Ellie Kemper, like T.J. Miller. There was a lot of people. There was
Kyle Dunnigan. Yeah.
No way. Oh, yeah.
Yes. We talked to him as well about it. Another brilliant comedian, but he had, they both had very strange stories about going out too soon, and just Lauren was the only one there. Nobody's here. And it was just tilted, pushed out the first time. Right. Don't go out. It was just a horror show. So what was your experience there? And for a second, just what led you to get there? Was it from Second City in Chicago, or where did you come from?
I was in New York. I was doing Upright Citizens Brigade. A
UCB guy.
Yeah, I was. I like that character. No, I just like that character.
Guy.
Yeah, I was doing UCB and kind of met like Amy and Seth and Horatio through that doing that ASCAT, and then I was doing Horatio Sands's improv tour. Like he was doing college shows, and I was doing that, and then kind of my sketch group got on the radar of Mike Shoemaker, and I think that was kind of how. And then I auditioned, got called back with a bunch of very, very talented people, and was then told, I was like, I think we'll start you in January. Like I met with Lauren, and he was like,
wow.
Brian Williams is hosting. That seems like a good one. But he never said you got the job. And I was just like, what's happening? And then 2
was
days
that in the summer, though? You're saying January?
But no, and then 2 days later was the writer's strike, and I heard nothing for 9 months.
Oh, whoa.
Like it just went like, and I didn't get it. I ended up not getting it because during the writer's strike, Maya Rudolph had a baby, so they hired Casey Wilson, and I didn't get it. They hired a woman instead. So I and Casey's a good friend of mine, and I was so excited. But it was devastating for me. And then,
so wait a minute. You almost got it, and then you went back in line. Okay, and then what happened?
Back didn't get it. So it was like 14 months in total. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I got a call saying like, hey, do you want to come in again this week? I went in on a Wednesday. I did like all new stuff, and then found out on Monday, went in on Wednesday, and like found out on Friday that I got it, and then the next week I was on the show.
Oh shit! Your Pants Productions, my God, I would be like, what?
Yeah, it was nuts. After 14 months.
How many years as a comedian or sketch comedian, or at that point, how far were you into this?
I was older. I was 31 when I got it.
Me too.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, bro, UCB.
Yeah.
We're both
Hey, bro. But so you were super experienced. Did you do it in college? Like, did you do a lot of theater in college and stuff in high school, or were you?
I did theater, and then I did a lot of plays and musicals and stuff like that. And then right after college, came back to New York, was doing a play. Saw Upright Citizens Brigade, saw an improv show there, and went like, oh no, I was taking stand-up classes at Comic Strip Live, and I was just I was like, this is I don't think this is for me. And then saw the improv class and was like, oh, this is more of a fit. And
just for a second, were you the type of kid who put on shows for your parents or siblings and stuff? Where you go back in like at age 5?
Me.
I definitely was.
At
I was
7.
Watch me.
Did you do little voices? What were you like as a kid performer?
I was never good at impressions or accents or anything, but I was very, very like, watch me, look at this dumb thing.
Look at this dumb thing. Yeah. Were you the type when you jump in the pool, you go, watch, and you really weren't doing anything that great?
1,000,000,000%, and then got out of the pool and did the exact same thing.
Well, no, watch again. No, I'm gonna put a little tweak on it, a little different on my cannonball. So embarrassing.
100%.
So you how did you deal with the nerves of that audition 14 months later? Did you feel like, oh fuck it, I probably won't get it again, or you
lost it to Maya's baby this time?
I did. Well deserved though. Very
I think the baby Maya's baby should definitely be at least a feature player.
She's camera ready. She's camera ready.
She comes from a funny family.
Everyone has a Lauren. David, do your Lauren.
Oh, Maya's baby it's just, you don't even need to see her, but she's already got hired. I mean, it's just the genes.
Bobby?
it's that thing when your mother's a superstar.
Her grandmother sang
Once
a
you get
song.
into thing is a great word for Lauren.
Thing, it just covers a lot.
Thing of like.
My favorite was always we would always do CNN sketches, and when like on the sketch it said CNN bumper, so we would every week was CNN bumper.
Oh, Lauren reading the
read through.
Anytime there's a CNN.
Oh, that's
sketch,
good.
CNN
I haven't heard that word. CNN bumper. Yeah, Lauren has his read through voice because he would read all the stage.
Oh, stage direction. That's right. He reads stage direction.
Stage direction.
Goo goo in the honey pot, and then he turned the page. And I was like,
my favorite Lauren note during in between dress and air meeting, very long silence, very tense meeting. There was about 5 seconds in silence, and then he just went, "We have a boom shadow on fart face." It was a personal gift to everyone in the room. We were all that was beautiful. It was some sketch called Fart Face, and that's all he said out of nowhere.
Sometimes he does, when he does read through, like he'll surprise you because he's so bored by sketch 44. Like if I have the receptionist coming up and Mike Shroomtaker buries it at the end, and then at the end they go, it's like sketch 41, and everyone's nodding off. And then he goes, "The receptionist."
Yeah. So
he says it like, "Oh, look at this little nugget."
Let's hope it does well.
Yeah, he reads the title before you read the sketch, and it's funny that he gives it a little spin.
I did to the fart face one. I've said this once before, but I wrote a sketch called Funny Little Poopy Head, and I had the stage direction. He said Funny Little Poopy Head like 500 times. Funny Little Poopy Head sits down. Funny Little Poopy Head is sad. Lovitz is turning purple. Anyway, so you do because you love Lauren and you just do all that.
One of the gutting moments. Me and Tim Robinson wrote a sketch. I believe it was just it was a throwback to like old SNL where I wanted to just write a jingle. And all I remember about it was a split screen, and we were talking on the phone, and after it pulled back and revealed we were on the toilet, and the thing was just, it's two best friends who talk on the phone while they're taking a dump. And it was terrible. It was absolutely awful. And at the end of the sketch, Lauren, in complete silence, just went, "And the Emmy goes to."
That's what Lauren is funny. That's the dry throwaways.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny. 10 years later, in the moment, you want to kill.
Oh yeah, you want to crawl under the.
If there was a 1% chance it's getting on, now it's 0.
Yeah, it was a blast. It was good to see. It was also good to see him again recently and not be terrified and just go like, "Hey, thanks, that was fun."
We did him for this. We met him, and I've seen him for dinners.
Oh, it was so good.
It's just fun to see him when you're still a little, it's a little odd because he's like dad, boss.
He's our coach, our teacher,
but
mentor.
But you realize at a certain point he wants to hang out and have fun. And he did say something that was very interesting. Remember Dana when he was leaving? He said, "People say, 'Are you going to retire?' And he goes, I would be worried I wouldn't be around funny people." Like he says, "I'm so lucky I'm around funny people." But are you going to be around funny people?
The specific quote he said about funny people to me, this was in New York. He goes, "There's only 900 of us on the planet." Have you heard that one?
Yeah, I have. I've heard him say it, and I've heard you say it.
It's so specifically brilliant. But what happens is when you see Lauren away from the show, because he has all the power, and you make fun of the teacher, then you kind of see that he's very sensitive guy, and very vulnerable. Go ahead.
Yeah. You always talk about, or like you always tell a story about like when you first met him with Paul at his house and stuff. Mm-hmm. And like, I've never had that experience. Like, I remember one time they asked me to he was like, "We're coming back from LA if you want to fly with us." And I remember being like, "I ain't getting on that plane." Like that, it is scary. Yeah. Like at the time, and like that was apparent this time going back. Like, oh, I should have been so much more at ease with him because he is not as scary in any way.
Do you want to have anxiety for 6.5 hours?
Yeah,
Jump on.
Exactly. Do you want to question this next 6 hours for the rest of your life?
I was on Long Island with Lauren at his house in Amagansett, just the two of us for a weekend. Wow. And we drove around in a sports car and we looked at things, and he saw a little shed and he goes, if I lose everything, I could live there. And then, because Lauren has this reputation of being erudite, we went to a movie and a matinee. And we're just in the theater. And would you like some of my popcorn? You know, it just humanized him. I don't know, but there's only one Lorne.
It's true. It's nuts. But at the same time, in a way, like I remember meeting you, Dana, for the first time. When you came and hosted, like I got to do a church chat. I was Snooki in a church chat.
Yes, I remember.
Like, funny.
I like that. That was the first moment that truly broke my brain at that show. When you're like, you watch something your entire life, and then you become a part of it, and then you're sitting 2 feet away from something you used to dress up as Halloween. And like it was nuts, like that. It's like that crazy feeling. I don't know if you remember, David. I met you when we did Grown Ups 2.
Nope,
not at all. I was in Grown Ups 2, and we had lunch together. And it's like, or with Nick Swardson was there, and it's like it's bonkers. Everybody there was like Lorne to me. I wish I had been like a little bit more.
I know. All I remember from that is I wrote in my diary, I wish Nick wasn't at that lunch.
When you went back this time, Bobby, did you there are cast members there that were in the Bumpkin sketch? I mean, that I think are just 2 shows in or 3 shows. The Pumpkins. Sorry.
Jimmy Bumpkins.
I went to community college.
I know,
David
me
S.
too.
Pumpkins, a.k.a. Tom Hanks. So you were there with young cast members, and did they mention being fans of yours or asking any questions? What was it like to be around, seeing how fresh they are and kind of scared? They have to be a little bit.
No one was scared. No one was scared. I was
super confident.
I was amazed at how no one was scared.
Really?
Yeah. I just remember a lot of fear.
Sure.
They don't.
Yeah, me too.
But then there's Keenan, who's just like, Keenan like was there when I got there. I watched him get the show, and he'll be there after I die. And and like having that was the best. Like him and Cecily were the only ones there still from when I was there. But it's bonkers. Having Jack Harlow, the host, who's like 24, he's like, man, I grew up with you on this show. And I'm just like, oh, Jesus, like that. It's the first time.
Are you sure?
Well, it's like, I think I was a kid when I got it pretty much. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, I even was 31, but like, it just feels crazy to get to that. Like, I can't believe I'm in the I'm coming back phase of my SNL.
It gets more interesting as you go along the the ladder. So yeah, I got.
Is it funny, Bobby, when you realize like if it was the same for you, maybe Dana too? We had hard lines in our dressing room, or in our office, not dressing room. But when you get people that you go, oh, this is the most important thing to everyone I know, and then you leave and you go, nobody gives a fuck. Like that's a wake-up call.
That's hugely it's hugely apparent. Like when I was on the show, that was my life. The show was my life. Mm-hmm. Now I got a kid, like I got a wife, the pandemic happened, my parents, just like so many things happened, and you go like, oh, this is silly.
Right. When you go, did you guys think that the 5th sketch should have been 4th? And they're like, on what? And you're like, the show I'm on. They're like, oh, I didn't. I was out Saturday.
I didn't know.
And then I felt like when I left and I go, they're still doing the show without me. And then later on, I'm seeing Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler and Bill Hader. And I go, and they're doing it better than me.
And they're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did you come in with, Bobby, in 2008? You kind of. Was it with Bill Hader and you had Amy, or who was on the? Because you had some heavy hitters when you came in.
Yeah, I came into that amazingly established cast. It was like Kristen Wiig, Bill Hader, Sudeikis, Andy Samberg, Fred Armisen.
Are you reading this?
I am. I went back into
and all season by the time you came in, they'd been there 4 or 5 years, or 2 years, or something like that. Yeah,
I was the first cast member to come in a couple years, and also the only one my season. John Mulaney came in as a writer as well. We shared an office.
Was Fred Armisen mean? Was Fred Armisen kind of mean?
The meanest. Famous asshole Fred Armisen.
Sorry. No, the nicest guy in the world. That's why that was
nervous
funny.
Like I was nervous. I knew Dana a little bit. I was still nervous around him because in the pocket at SNL, and Dennis, I knew, still weird because once you're in there, it's a big fucking deal. And then going up and asking questions or saying, do you want to write something with me? Or it's just weird. Like to go up to Kristen Wiig and she's like royalty there. You know,
it was
hard.
that. The first year was like everyone was really nice, and the second year was when I kind of realized like, oh, I think no one really wants to hang out and talk about sketches. You know, not like it was like that was when
you're kind of on your own.
It took me a while to figure that out.
Did you partner up with somebody or get some chemistry with a writer or another cast member? Obviously, you and Mickey Day with David S. Pumpkins.
A bunch. I shared an office with John Mulaney. I had known him. He was wonderful.
He's great.
And Brian Tucker and Colin Jost was a writer at that time, and we wrote a bunch together. And
great writer.
Once Cecily came along, we did a bunch of sketches together, and
You know, it's interesting that like Phil, obviously the shinier objects like Dana, let me finish.
You hurt me so much.
That's a compliment because Dana, but you got Phil. If you're going to put him in your sketch, you just stop worrying because he will get everything out of it and more. Yeah. And so those are unsung heroes that take longer to figure out how good they are. I mean, people in the business get it, but it takes the audience, you know, if they don't jump out in a big sketch that's like
Lorraine Newman, like, you know, Chris Parnell, like those guys, just like Cecily to me is just like essential. It's
just that we learned being stand-ups to just working with other people and loving it when you're killing together, like Phil and Jan on Church Chat or Phil as Ed McMahon. That partnering with people, Mike Myers and Kevin Nealon, was so much fun coming from stand-up where it's kill or be killed. It's just you against the world. Could I fan out for a minute? Because I did a deep dive on Bobby Moynihan. Because when you see your best of back to back and you realize that you're kind of like Phil, you can play anything, but then sometimes you play stuff that's like supernatural, like out there. It really rocked me. The kitty cat guy, the commitment of that character.
Oh, I saw that one.
Can you just explain that sketch? And I thought, this isn't going to work. You know, and then it just went into a whole other. I mean, you anyway. Explain how that character came about. The kitty cat guy. I feel like
a lot of my sketches on like Right Address, I went like, this isn't going to work, and it just ends up relying on like weird performance sometimes.
Yeah. It was all you. That was all set up for you. Everyone else was straight, and you just kept escalating it and winding down into it. This cute little boy on a spaceship who won't do anything they ask him to do except he's just in love with his kitty cat. I mean, it's like
so stupid. I was on a camping trip, and like a friend of a friend brought a friend. And that guy
total stranger.
Yes, pretty much was just being silent and took a couple beers and went in a tent and then came out much later in the night and sat down and like kind of looked like he was crying, and we were like, hey man, are you okay? And he just went, I miss my little kitty cat. And we were like, what? and then I proceeded to tell somebody at work about that, and they were like, let's put him in a spaceship where people can't get away from him.
Yeah. There's another layer of, just to make sure I interrupt you, a layer of the people talking. They're kind of funny talking like the movie Alien or that same
they're
kind of
so serious.
So that's a layer of comedy there.
Yeah.
And I go, it's going to be about that. And then it sort of switches, and then the best ones are like you don't really predict what's
Would it be
going on.
putting you on the spot, Bobby, to move toward the mic and just do a little bit of that character so the audience knows what? Because it was sort of a little boy, but it was something different.
I just would I would just try and be the creepiest, like weird, adorable boy, where I would just go, I miss my little kitty cat.
You're squeezing your diaphragm,
which is what the guy sounded like. It was bizarre. Absolutely
I also
bizarre.
wanted to point out for people who are Drunk Uncle fans, the non sequitur aspect of it is incredible. The guy hates progress. It kind of is sneakily.
The guy hates progress.
It's sneakily slightly edgy with the immigrant stuff and the stuff that guy can say in his own way. So it's sneakily a little more than just a drunk guy. It's actually got some weight to it a little bit.
It was weird because it's like we haven't done it in 5 years. It's the first time. The last time I did it was with Trump, like
with the Trump, actual Trump
when he was there, and we said like a bunch of terrible stuff about how racist he was. Like I was like, he's just like me, very racist and stupid, and like he came over to me and shook my hand, like thank you for saying such nice things about, and I was like, I don't think you got what happened there. Like the whole point of Drunk Uncle was like the stuff I'm saying is abhorrent.
Yeah. Right, exactly. But
I always know when people come up and they're like, I love Drunk Uncle, man, I think just like him, and I'm like, oh no. But so it was hard to kind of reconcile that after Black Lives Matter and come back and go like, is this funny to do anymore? Like the lovable racist.
In 5 years, it changes everything
completely. And my pitch was like, maybe he's a little woke after the pandemic, and they were just like, nobody wants to hear woke Drunk Uncle. I was like, I get it.
Oh yeah. So
it's just finding that line of like, well, I know what I'm saying is very stupid, and I'm making fun of that, and I hope you understand.
You know, it's funny when the guys like that, there you could do where he is trying to be woke and everything comes out so wrong.
We got like a couple of those into this one where he just said like, I know now that Black Atoms matter. Like, and like,
right.
He's trying.
Yeah. That is a lot of, there's a lot of huggers. There's a lot of people I know that still, and then they get mad if they're corrected at all. They're like, oh, okay. So no ass grabbing, but what if they like it? You're like, well, we did a quick poll and,
so how many times did you do the McDonald's firing people? Was that just a one-off with Cecily?
No, we did it a couple times. I think we did it like 3 or 4 times, maybe 2 or 3 times, something like that.
That one also must have been really fun to perform, where you are 2 employees at McDonald's, you think you're getting fired, and then you just dissect all the other employees and just shit all over them, going back and forth.
That was just me and Cecily trying the tactic of like, this is like, you know how like, at SNL, there's like character parade sketch or the impression parade sketch, or like you write, like if I write a game show this week, it might help to get on. So like we were just like, let's write a sketch with every cast member in it, where we just get to go through every cast member and tear them apart, like that's trying to be funny. And that was literally it. Was just like, what if we wrote something that had every cast member in it?
Yeah, that's when they walk around Dana like Marcy or Shoemaker.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you could put Ellen in that, or Melanie Hutzel.
Well, the little edge to it was like Taron Killiam. He had such
the murderer.
He had such a great, because they would just go to close up with no lines. Like Sudeikis had a funny angle, and they got laughs too. So that was extremely funny.
When
David?
in doubt, cut to Keenan making a face. Always.
Cast pieces are always a score, and for people listening, like when you're writing, if the only little tricks there aren't many, but big cast is good. Give the what is that? The host doesn't do anything. He's a prop. Like, if you write a funny character, and then like I told Dana when I've told people that, wrote one when David Bowie was there, the receptionist. And then he comes in and blah, blah. But he liked it. But then he said, I want to be the receptionist. And I was like, oh, wait a second. But that's understandable because you're the funny one and it is a prop. And you don't really think like that because you're so focused on, I just got to get a character that makes sense and it's funny. And you finally get that. And cast is a little better at that,
Had you done it before, or was that the first time?
I had not done it, and I
was going to say, you want that to happen 3 times in.
Yeah, right. If that happens, then there's a way to explain it a little bit.
Springsteen wanted to do Church Lady. He was a musical guest, and it was early on, and I was like, Bruce, no, I'm kidding. Okay.
I was about to say, geez.
How'd you go?
I was like, I believe it.
Hey, I think the lady is someone who can say things that other people can't say.
I think of you more as a feature player. I think it might be too many lines for you, and I don't want to put that much on you.
Did you have, because meeting Springsteen was a thrill, and he walked on the 8H, and the Wayne's World set was there, and he's like, so that's what it looks like, stuff like that. Did you have stuff like that where you're meeting musicians and movie stars, and it's just fun, part of SNL?
Constantly. I was a super fan of the show when I got it. I don't, I grew up on it for many, many generations, like you guys, but when you came and hosted for Church Lady, like that was nuts. That was the first time where it was like playing in that, where you really realized like playing in that playground of like, you just get to jump into these worlds that you've loved for so long.
Yeah, you see the church chat set, and then you go sit in it, and then you're
And
like, I'm in the sketch.
Snooki is a very big character for you. I mean, you crushed with it. You had all this tanner on and this blue dress and the crazy hair.
That was the first thing that hit for me was Snooki, where like the first real first
was
thing.
Was it Update?
Like,
I think I saw you do Update, and I was like, oh my God, because I think Hader comes into the situation, and you're like, have to explain who it is, and I'm like, oh, is this really, really early on? Because
I was flipping through the channels and just saw some girl get punched in the face, and I was like, "What is this?" And watched it, and it was like that week, and then like the week after I did it was like when Snooki, like people were like talking about her.
Yeah.
And then that year I did the MTV Movie Awards dressed as her with her, and she came over to me and was like, "Nobody knew who I was, and then you did me on SNL, and now I make 30 grand for personal appearances."
30 grand. That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
I can open for her.
Yeah.
So you do Snooki.
That's what we like
on Update, and that's a nice bump. Is that early for you also? Seems a while ago.
Somewhat. I had like a couple, like my fourth episode, like I was like this Beyonce sketch with single ladies that did really well, and like that kind of like started, and then Snooki, and then like I think I got a little more confident at Update because of Snooki, and then like Drunk Uncle started happening, and then like most of my stuff that people remember got on to Update, because I think that's where
Update's a score.
Anthony
Crispino. I saw Anthony Crispino. Was it?
Anthony Crispino. So that was give us that accent a little bit. It was really specific. What was it from?
It was just my dad would always look around when he would tell you something like there was a spy there, and I just always thought that was funny, and the idea of just not giving any information. But I would get real hard, talking like this, and like everything just got progressively higher and more ridiculous as I lied.
Dana, did you see that one where he has Ryan Gosling with him? Because first of all, nothing better on Update. You got a character, it works, and if you want to jack it up, bring out the host.
That was also sorry.
And he's funny, and he looks funny, and then he is funny.
That was the first time where the host, like at the host meeting, they were like, "This is Ryan Gosling," and everyone clapped, and he was like, "I want to do an Anthony Crispino," and I was like,
"Oh,
what?"
Wow, that is the chill.
That was the first time that happened, and only time probably for me, and it was a lot of fun. He was great.
He's a stud. Yeah, Dana used to get that for Wayne's World, or
I can't imagine.
And then Lauren would go, Dana. Mike, what do you think?
We're thinking of Wayne's World maybe this week with Madonna and Aerosmith. Do you think that'll get numbers? It could be. I don't know. Well, Steven Tyler has a certain sort of chop that we could use. And, it's that thing of like Bobby's here, but he's not here. What?
Now, Bobby, when you do the good nights, I used to have to count those as a sketch, unfortunately. Because
David would get on my shoulders at the good nights, and I would carry him around the stage on my shoulders. Remember that, David?
Yeah, I like to try when people announce me. When people announce me, I like to try and throw that in. Like, him from SNL. His characters from SNL. Good Drunk Uncle, The Good Nights. I like to throw that in there.
They knew me from The Good Nights, and I'd grab Farley and I go, "You didn't earn it this week. Go back." And then
who had a nose for the lens on your cast, Bobby?
A nose for the lens on the Good Nights.
Who's a host hugger? Always ended up front.
That's the host hugger. I love that. Yeah. I love that term.
Host, yeah.
I feel like we had a couple.
You don't have to give any names.
That's funny. I was the opposite to a fault, where I was just like, "Thank you for being here. Sorry, I was in your way," and like didn't know better. I think I should have acted more like a confident star.
My tactic was like football. I would go back around, do my route. I'd go in the back, wait, and then I go right down the middle, get between Farley and David, and then boom, FaceTime. It was a definitive route that I did every time.
I always stood on one side and said hi to my mom. I like it for 9 years. That was it.
Mean mouthed
I just did the same thing.
Like,
I just
hi,
went, hi,
Mom.
Mom. I just like that was just
That's
all
cute.
That's an angle too. I like that.
For the ladies.
The worst is if you go up to hug the host and they turn and hug Mike Myers or someone, and then you look away and you go, "That's when I'm on camera when I got iced."
Yeah, your hands are up in the hug position, but they turned and you're just holding it there for a second.
It's very risky. I stay in the back.
My favorite Good Nights moment, and it was caught on camera, was being there and having John McCain. I caught eyes with John McCain like through the crowd, and for some reason he got real excited and like beelined, like pushing through Keenan and Pete Davidson and people just to get through, gets to me and throws his arm around me and goes, "Always a pleasure, Horatio."
Really?
Yes, it was
my
amazing.
My friends.
Amazing.
Joe Cold.
I need
You go,
friends.
listen, McCain, this is not how it works here, motherfucker.
You do Gary Shandling to get the
pushed him to
John
the ground.
McCain.
Oh, is that John McCain? What is it? Gary
My
Shandling and what?
friends, my friends, friends. That's all I remember. I don't do them anymore. But whatever.
Well, Bobby, when you were up there, did I see a clip of maybe it was you with McCartney?
Oh yeah,
on Good Nights. They were singing or something. Was it a Christmas show or something?
Yeah, that was like absolutely.
And Springsteen.
Yeah, it was like they were. Paul McCartney was there, but Bruce Springsteen was the musical guest. It was the Christmas show, and Tina and Amy were hosting. And at Dress,
good God,
they were like, yeah. And at Dress, they pulled everybody off because Bruce was going to do Santa Claus is Coming to Town at the end of the show, and so everyone kind of left the stage and went like into the tunnel almost.
Yeah.
And then on air, for some reason, he just pulled Amy and Tina up, and then he was like, "Come on, guys!" So everyone jumped on stage for that, and it was.
You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm talking to you. Anyway, love Springsteen. I can't do it.
Yeah, and then McCartney there too. I mean, geez, the two. The biggest.
I had a moment with McCartney where just during a rehearsal where he popped out of the host. Like they have the dressing rooms over on the side near the page desk, and he just popped out with a pizza box in his hand and went, "Does anybody want pizza?" And me and Jen, I don't do a poll. And me and Jenna Rossitano, the stage manager, just went inside and had a slice of pizza with him and talked about New York pizza. And it was like those moments where you just go like, "Yeah, this place is nuts."
I think he tries to be normal, and he would rather just sometimes just drop it, just like be normal. Especially around there, you're around funny people and talented people.
If you want to sound like him, Bobby, just everything is a question. So we'd be like, "Would you like some pizza?"
Which is also a question.
Always goes up.
Yeah.
Would you like some pizza? Some pizza.
9 years on SNL, can't do an impression to save my life. I just played a lot of loud Italians.
Hey,
you do.
I have this tailor, Bobby, and he every time, I don't even know why I go to him, because every time I go, "I just want these pants thin." I go, "What?" He goes, you don't want them thin. It looks weird. You want it all the way to the ground. Cover your shoes. I go, "Cover my shoes." And then he goes, "And they're too skinny." I go, I look at him, his pants are like each 2 feet wide, and I go, "Why am I looking at you? Why don't I go to someone that looks good in their clothes?"
You don't want a double break, they tell me.
Yeah,
you don't want a double break.
Right. He goes, "This should be dragging. I know. I don't want to see his shoes." Everything I do, I want to get the sleeves. No, he fights me on every single. I go,
disappointed in
That's
you.
a character you would do if you're on SNL. That would be a potential sketch with the host.
Yeah,
100%.
Especially if it was John Hamm or someone, studly guy.
Yeah.
I when I got my suit for my wedding, the guy who fitted me for my suit, his name was Lionel. He had an L on everything. Everything was monogrammed, and he kept telling me, he just kept going, "Don't waste my time, okay? Don't waste my time." And I was like, "This guy's an SNL character. I'm gonna do it this week." I wrote the sketch in 5 minutes. I was like, "This is gonna crush. This is my Target lady. This is my this is my bye-bye." And go in, and it just tanks by page 2.
Oh.
And then I'm like, "Oh God, well, I got that weird drunk uncle thing in the second half. Hopefully that'll work."
So how did you say the catchphrase? What was the catchphrase again? And how did you say it?
He was just like, "I hate everything you're wearing. Stop wasting my time.
Stop wasting my time."
That's a good catchphrase.
That was it. Yeah, that was it. He was just very confident and mean.
I've seen What about Dana when someone does a catchphrase and it bombs by page 2 and they have 8 more pages and everyone's like this?
You know what was funny though is like I came in at a time where like we were still kind of doing those sketches, like old SNL sketches. Now they're called old, where it was like a theme song and then a crazy character. Like Gilly was like kind of the last one we did because
it's a funny.
When I first got there the first year, I remember Andy Samberg being like, hey, that video we did, they're going to put it on this thing called YouTube. And I was like, what is that? And he was like, it's this website that it's just going to have videos. He's like, and I was just like, well, good luck, man. That sounds terrible. Like
that'll never work.
And that'll never work. And then like by my 4th or 5th episode was the first time we were in HD. And then like you couldn't do reoccurring characters anymore because they would put them on YouTube and like people could see them immediately. And like it was such a huge difference.
Burn out quicker, you mean?
Yeah, like we would wait to see another Wayne's World, or we would wait to see it because we had to. And then like those kind of characters, which is something that like I feel like I got the show for, was these weird characters.
You like it a juice?
Yeah, like all of a sudden that was slowly starting to go away, and I was like, oh well, I guess I gotta.
I guess that's
learn
true.
how to
There
do
aren't
it.
that many catchphrases.
The politicians come back because they're just the only really famous people around anymore that everybody knows.
Yeah, or they would do it much quicker. They would do them like clump them closer together because they would all be on the internet.
We're gonna do a lot of
wish
things.
I had
Let me
the
tell you.
internet.
So this is a sketch that I thought was so funny, supernaturally funny, that you did with The Rock.
Oh, I saw this one. Yeah.
World Wrestling promo
Very
shoot.
personal
You're the
wrestler.
straight man in a sense, but you play it so real off of The Rock that you knew that was crushing when it. I mean, it was just a.
That was one of those gifts where like The Rock, it was The Rock's idea.
Oh, wow.
Like he was like,
Good.
he was like, yeah, when we did these promos, I would always do this bit where I would get really, really personal and it was his idea. And then they pitched it to Rob Klein and Rob Klein wrote it. And it was one of those gifts of just like, yeah, all I got to do is stand here and get offended and have like, it was, that's one of my favorite.
That
was one of those like, yeah, like from table to air,
Table to
it
farm.
wasn't very, farm to table, table to farm. It was very easy in the sense of like there wasn't a lot of panic all week of like, are we getting this right? Like it was just like, no, I get offended by the terrible things he said.
And some sketches like that don't really even change.
It didn't a lot. It didn't, and like there's little things about it, like Taron Killam.
Oh, that's
sketch
right. He
kills
was
me.
good.
Like, just keeps looking at his phone the whole time, and then whenever he has to be the announcer, he just got like,
I saw
there's
that.
just little things about it that was
for the
made me really
people
happy.
at home. No one's at home. For the people driving, it's really like The Rock is giving is tells them before they do an interview.
Well, they're beating up on each other verbally, and Bobby does a normal thing. I'll kill you in the ring and all that.
But he says, say whatever you want. Say whatever you want.
Yeah. And then he says, say whatever you want. Really get after me. And then what does The Rock say, Bobby?
That I have herpes and that he's been catfishing me with a picture of my own daughter. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
Just horrible, awful things. But he was so good in it because it's in his world. Like he knows it so well. Like he's so
It was funny when you go, that was a little rough. Just say something about in the ring during the fight. And he goes, oh, got it. Then he goes, this guy's going to get in the ring and I'm scared he's going to give me his herpes in the ring. And you're like, no.
Kept going.
I'm going to hurt you psychologically.
It's funny because you stay in character until they break. They always go, oh, cut. And then he goes, how was that? And you go, well, I didn't like it. It was horrible. Like
it really hurt my feelings.
Yeah, but you don't do it during when you're filming.
No, but you played it so well.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not easy to be the so-called straight man and get gigantic laughs from the straight man. Yeah. What about that catchphrase film you guys did made me laugh so hard? You played Slappy Pappy.
Yeah, that was just the dumbest thing in the world. I'm a huge fan of Sinbad, and I think he's fantastic. And I found this guy Shucky Ducky. Have you ever heard of Shucky Ducky?
Sure. I'll say yes.
It sounds funny already.
He was a stand-up comic, and he would tell jokes like, I'm supposed to pay my wife alimony, but I don't. She says, you're a deadbeat. And I said, no, I'm just patient. Shucky Ducky quack quack. And then he would just say Shucky Ducky quack
that's
quack.
Great.
At the end of every joke, and it really made me laugh.
It's funnier than the joke, always.
So funny. I got one, a redneck comedian.
Oh, yeah.
You ever fart so loud, dog 2 stayed away, go, what that? Come and get some. That was a little character.
By the way, it doesn't even correlate really when you go, come
It doesn't
and get
relate,
some.
but come and
It doesn't
come and,
need to.
Yeah.
Come and get some.
Here's mine.
David has a catchphrase.
Oh, yeah. How do I do it? Let me see. I called my wife the other day, and her boyfriend answered, rack 'em.
Yeah, that's it. Rack 'em. We almost called.
I think I need a real joke first.
No, rack 'em's funny. I mean, we almost called the podcast Rack 'em.
Okay, I got one.
All right.
It's a child molester joke, but we'll change it. So this child molester goes in the woods with this 5-year-old kid, and the kid goes, Mister, I'm scared. He goes, you're scared? After this, I got to walk out here by myself. Rack 'em.
Rack 'em. That's right.
That's like a joke, but it's a rude one. We'll strike it.
I asked my mama to wash my tidy whities. She said, okay. I said, how'd it go? She said, great. I haven't seen skid marks like this since the Daytona 500. Come and get some.
Since I dated Big Daddy Don Garlitz. Come and get some.
Come and get some. I married my sister only because mama turned me down. Come and get some.
Just making up jokes.
These all would have worked. That's pretty much what it was
Yeah.
just doing this in a writer's room for hours and then just coming up with different comics and what their catchphrases were.
And the escalation at the end with the bullhorn, or what was it? The with
Zach Galifianakis
Zach,
was
yeah.
just, I believe he was like Pete Airhorn Schultz, and he just didn't tell. He just came out.
He just
Made an air.
All right.
So that was the perfect button for that. So what are you doing these days before we wrap up?
I have a question before we wrap up too. But
how's
tell
your
what you're
head?
doing
How's
these
your headspace? It seems like you're just working like crazy. I mean, we did Secret Life of Pets together, 1 and 2.
Yes,
Yeah.
we were there hoping for 3 soon. I was just on Mr. Mayor, which David, you were fantastic.
Mr. Mayor.
I was on Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I think so. You definitely were.
That's Tina's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing good. I wrote a children's book. It's called Not All Sheep Are Boring. That's
Not all sheep are boring.
Well, that's right. Because you
What
count
age
sheep
group
to go
is
to
it
sleep.
for?
If you count sheep to fall asleep, because some of them are extremely boring. That's why.
I like that.
That's it.
What was that?
Doing that. Doing a lot of writing.
Derek comedy sketches. That was a part of your resume I saw.
One of the first things I did, Donald Glover, all those guys.
Yeah, super talent.
Here's my last question for Bobby Dana. And
okay,
then,
ladies and gentlemen, I'm holding in my car.
It's really wispy.
The final question.
It's so wispy. This is just one I wrote down. Does your years, do they send a car to take you to work every day or even take you to the show?
When I first got there, no. And then
not even show day?
No, but then on show day we got cars.
Okay.
That was always the case, and we had limos at first, and then that stopped.
Oh, really?
For the after party. Well, no, then we just got like regular cars, like the like the actual limousines themselves.
Oh, like skinny long limousines.
Like ridiculously like 1980s cocaine limousines.
We had those,
and and we like that ended like after the first year or two there, but never cars to like. Were sometimes for rehearsal towards the end because like. They would call you up and be like, it's 2:00 in the morning. You're coming to Brooklyn to do a pre-tape. Like it was because it was mostly pre-tapes by the time I left. Like we would be out of the studio for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday just doing.
Wow,
pre-tape.
That's weird. Yeah.
Did you ever have a show where everything came together like it was your best show ever, and you walked into the party just with a little different physicality?
Swagger.
Like, that's right. I'm here. One hand in the house.
That's right.
Did you have a show where you kind of went, wow, that was my best show? You hit on like 4 different things.
Probably early on, and it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like I thought it was, and it was just like I didn't go home crying that night. But like I'll be honest, like the maybe this last one was the first time I left that building going like that was a blast, and then that was it.
You go bring me to the host table
and then cry yourself to sleep 45 minutes later. No one likes me.
Well, it was nice to go like, nope, I'm just going to the hotel. I'm going to sleep. I got to be at my daughter's soccer game in 6 hours. Like it was just nice to move on and just go like that was a fun to see those people and move on.
Wow. So you're just in that whole world, being a dad. That's a whole nother podcast, but she's doing soccer already. How old is she? 2?
Yeah. 5, kindergarten.
Yeah.
Here's my last thing is, it's a character based on my friend. Whenever you say anything to him, you go, oh, so you got that soccer game, then you're going to go to lunch. He goes, yep, just being a dad. And he keeps saying it, and I go, "Shut up!" Quit. He says it like it's like he's. I get that he's proud of it, but it can't cover everything. Like it always comes back to that. Like he's such a hero.
It's a good blanket excuse.
Yeah,
that's another character, proud daddy. Like he works dad into everything. You know, when are you going to work? Well, as a dad, I'll probably get there around 10. Want to have lunch? Well, dads can't have lunch. They got to call their family.
Yeah.
There you go, David. You got 2 characters from this podcast.
Yeah.
That real pretentious wind up too. That, well, just being a dad.
Yeah. That explains it all. It's a blanket statement.
And then they're kind of jealous of single people just wandering around the world. Must be nice. Must be nice. Oh my God, that must be nice.
What's it like to take a nap?
Yeah. What's it like to do what you want to do when you want to do it? Must be nice. The must be nice guy.
What's it like to eat alone?
Hey, do people treat you with respect?
Oh, you don't have any poop on your clothes. Must be nice.
Must be nice. The
All right,
must
Bobby.
be nice guy.
Thanks,
Bobby.
buddy.
It's been a pleasure. So much fun watching you all these years and on SNL recently. And so we hope to see you around campus.
Yep.
Thank you.
People
Such
say.
a pleasure to do this. It's like listening to, for SNL cast members, it's like an hour-long free therapy every week.
Yeah, they're not crazy.
We're all soldiers in that battle in a way, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
So we're okay, alum.
It's nice to be amongst legends. Thank you. I love you guys.
See you, buddy.
Peace out. Love you too, buddy.
This has been a podcast presentation of Cadence 13. Please listen, then rate, review, and follow all episodes. Available now for free wherever you get your podcast.
No joke, folks. Fly on the Wall has been a presentation of Cadence 13. Executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Chris Corcoran of Cadence 13, and Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment.
The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman with production and engineering support from Serena Regan and Chris Basil of Cadence 13.